Chapter 845. The palace guards swarmed into the palace from all directions. The Monkey King stood on top of the Qin King's table and looked at the officials who were lying limply on the ground. He saw the Qin King's legs trembling as he collapsed in front of him. The Queen Mother's eyes rolled back as she let out a scream and fainted. The Emperor and the officials in the palace were all in disgrace. The Monkey King was holding Fengshi in his hand and the soldiers were all tied up. Some of them were trembling and some of them were pissing their pants. The scene was a mess. Only Tai Ching and Chen Ong were able to sit still and observe the situation. The green ox came over quietly and waited outside the palace with the carriage on its back. The guards didn't pay attention to it when they passed by. Yi Shi, on the other hand, looked like he wanted to say something but didn't want to. The Monkey King was highly skilled in martial arts. Although he didn't learn any martial arts from Chen Ong, his quantum primordial spirit could see through even a fly or an ant. In the eyes of the Monkey King, those soldiers were no different from slow puppets. With a wave of his hand, a group of soldiers fell to the ground. He held Fengshi upside down and pinned 2 guards to the ground. His eyes were bloodshot and his fangs were ferocious as he threatened the Qin King. The Qin King screamed in fear, "Spare me, Grandpa Hero! Spare me, Hero!" He pointed at Fengshi in Monkey King's hand and said, "It's all because of this evil scoundrel that I made such a huge mistake. Hero, please help me get rid of this evil scoundrel." Wukong looked up to the sky and laughed. "I talked about reason with you, you talked about status with me, I asked you about knowledge, and you replied to me about seniority. I talked about human etiquette, and you talked about the difference between humans and beasts. I argued with you, and you came up and attacked me. I attacked you, and now you are begging me for mercy and etiquette. When he insulted me, you didn't say that he was evil. Now we are 5 feet apart and blood has spilled 3 steps away, and you are telling me that he is trying to sow discord? When you laughed at me just now, you didn't care about my knowledge, etiquette, and music. Now, when you flatter me as a hero, you don't care about how arrogant I am and how I beat all of you to the ground. No matter what you do or how you treat me, you don't care who I am or what I do. It's just that, it depends on your own position. When life and death are seized, you are arrogant. When your life is in someone else's hands, you bow and scrape." The Monkey King's eyes flashed with an ominous glint as he swung the human pole in his hand, wanting to kill Qin Wang. However, Chen Ong suddenly shouted, "Monkey King!" It was only then that the monkey regained some of its composure. It smiled coldly at the King of Qin and turned to leave. When it took 10 steps back, the surrounding guards rushed forward and protected the King of Qin and the Queen Mother behind them. Only then did the King of Qin jump up in rage and bellow, "Kill it! Kill that monkey! Kill them!" The Monkey King stretched out his hand and lifted an armored guard over his head, slamming him onto the ground. The heavily armored guard smashed into the ground, causing a group of people in front of him to fall to the ground. The Monkey King then stretched out his hand and took the metal dagger axe from the armored guard and pointed it at the King of Qin. "What did you say, brat?" The metal dagger axe in his hand trembled, and it was unknown how many people in front of him had their limbs broken. The bronze dagger axe was pointed at the King of Qin, causing the King of Qin to be dumbfounded. His face turned pale. The Monkey King casually tossed the bronze dagger axe towards the King of Qin. The blade of the dagger axe carried the King of Qin's body as it smashed through the screen and nailed into the wall behind him. The sharp edge of the dagger axe didn't penetrate the king's body. Instead, it pierced through his chest and into the stone wall. "It's just a mere 100 steps. Why do I need to be angry when I take your life?" Looking at the armored guard surrounding him, the Monkey King laughed and said, "Who dares to stop me?" Chen Ong and Lao Zi had already stood up from their seat. At this moment, the attention of all the soldiers in the hall was completely focused on the Monkey King. No matter how they moved, they didn't attract any attention. All the armored guards surrounded the Monkey King, and allowed Chen Ong and Lao Zi to walk out of the hall and walk towards the ox cart. Shi asked worriedly, "Sages, how are we going to pass through the Qin Pass with the Monkey King in this state?" Chen Ong only smiled and replied, "There are 6 to 7 checkpoints in the army of a country. Above them, there are cowardly rulers, and below them are mediocre officials. The rest are only 1 or 2 outstanding talents, and they can't even be used. Moreover, with the muddle-headed officials holding us back, how are we going to pass through the Qin Pass? Right now there are 300 armored guards in the hall, and Senior Monkey King isn't willing to hold the King of Qin hostage. Within the palace there is an ambush every 10 steps, and the soldiers are all enemies. How is he going to escape? Do the nobles dare to risk their lives in the hall? When I arrived, I saw that the King of Qin was at a loss, the armored guards were at a loss, and the officials were panicking. If they have courage, even a flock of sheep can devour a tiger. If they lose their courage, what can they do to the enemy?" In fact, these were just Chen Ang's casual superficial excuses. The real reason was not to mention Wukong's magical powers. In Chen Ang's eyes, the Qin state's armaments and the palace's defense could be said to be riddled with holes. There were loopholes everywhere. There were only a few hundred soldiers in the Qin imperial palace, and the imperial palace had the imperial court and the imperial harem. How could a mere few hundred people set up a tight defense? Chen Ong and the others rode on the ox cart. Under the rapid galloping of the green ox, there were occasionally 1 or 2 guards who tried to stop them. However, they were knocked away by the green ox's horns. Out of Xianyang City, they walked for about 10 miles before the Monkey King caught up with them. He said to Chen Ong, "Master, the King of Qin is just a good-for-nothing, and the guards in the palace are all useless. I fought my way out of the hall, and after 3 gates, no one dared to stop me anymore. They are so timid and afraid of the slightest thing. I heard from Zilu that Qin has the aura of a tiger and a wolf, but from what I saw today, it seems like it is nothing much. Master, when we are out of Qin's territory, I will go back and play with him." Chen Ong only laughed. "That is the way of a demon, you can't do that. Master, the King of Qin was rude to both of you, and even spoke rudely to me. How is it the way of a demon to teach him a lesson?" Monkey King said softly, "I just want to scare him, I don't want his life. That is the way of a demon." Chen Ong laughed. "Do you still think you are a wild monkey without any background? Look at the cultivators who have mana in the surroundings. Those who do not are demons. Just like the wandering swordsmen in the surroundings. Their hair is disheveled, their clothes are short, and their words are hard to say. When they hit each other, their necks will be cut and their lungs will be cut. Just because they dare to fight and kill, and are strong, blood will be spilled at every turn. They are just wandering warriors, and they rely on their ruthlessness, money, and connections. Incurring enmity with others was either due to a matter of pride, or it was for the sake of money and benefits, and it was an open fight. If you go and teach the King of Qin a lesson, you are just bullying him with your magical powers. When you hit him, blood will be spilled. What's the difference between this method of relying on magic power and the monsters in the wilderness? Monkey King, why do you think the King of Qin is making things difficult for you?" Chen Ong asked. Monkey King scratched his head and replied, "Of course it is because of Ti Fangshi." Chen Ong laughed and asked again, "Then why does Ti Fangshi want to make things difficult for you?" "For no reason at all. He provoked the King of Qin to harm you." This, Monkey King couldn't answer. Chen Ong could only explain, "Of course there is someone behind it." He then told the Monkey King about the god of thunder and goddess of lightning plotting against him. Monkey King was furious and said, "God of thunder and goddess of lightning, it was just a joke in the past, and yet you are so persistent. I will not let this matter rest. You stubborn monkey, are you waiting for the day when the god of thunder and goddess of lightning comes out to teach them a lesson?" Chen Ong asked. Looking at the Monkey King's hesitation, he knew that he had hit the nail on the head. Chen shook his head and said, "That is why I said that you are still wild, and you can't learn how the gods handle things." "Master, what is the way the gods handle things?" Monkey King asked. "How did the god of thunder and goddess of lightning plot against you?" Chen asked back, "Let me tell you, there are 5 immortals in the heavens, and they have people above them. The celestial mountain in the celestial heavens belongs to the immortals, and there are rules above them. Even if the god of thunder and goddess of lightning hate you, they didn't use lightning to strike you. Instead, they ordered a necromancer in the mortal world to make things difficult for you. The immortals are like officials. If the demons are like the wanderers who can fight and kill, and they rely on their strength and supernatural powers, then the immortals in the heavens are like the officials in the imperial court, and the officials have different ways of doing things. If you're a wild demon without a backer, it'll be easy for him to control you. It's just like how an official controls a ranger and orders his men to capture you. The Thunder Division and Combat Division of the Celestial Heavens, the Celestial Army and Celestial Generals, the Human Realms Arresting Constables, and the military officers are all prepared for this. When the time comes, the heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals in the sky will surround you like a net. The Thunder Division, Do Division, the heavenly generals, the 4 heavenly kings, the 6 kings, and the 4 marshals will all come after you. He has many soldiers and generals, and they will disturb you day and night. In the end, he will invite those with great supernatural powers. Even if it's just a god of thunder and goddess of lightning, which demon is he afraid of? But you have people behind you, Monkey King. You are helping fellow Taoist Taiching. He is an official in the Tushita Palace, the Grand Supreme Elder. Which immortal hasn't asked him for help? Although he doesn't have a high position, it's a good job. He has requests from everywhere, and his status is respected. Do you know how many connections he has in the celestial heavens? And I, Master, am the master of the Beyond Heaven sect, a friend from the other world. Even the Jade Emperor has to give me some face, lest my friends are shocked and it has a bad impact. How can a mere god of thunder and goddess of lightning touch you? They can only find an alchemist from the lower realm to take the blame and cause you some trouble. They don't dare to provoke me and fellow Taoist Taiching. Look at the chaos in the Qin Palace today. The swords and spears in the main hall have no eyes. Why are we unharmed? Chen smiled and said, "They are all 4 world merit officials, day and night wandering gods. All of them covered their eyes and blinded the 6 senses of the mortal soldiers, so that we can sleep peacefully." The Monkey King came to a realization. I see. That Fengshi is just an insignificant person. The god of thunder and goddess of lightning used him as a tool. Monkey King, you have learned many mystical abilities, dharma spells, theories, and knowledge from me. Naturally, you can't mix with those ignorant wild demons. It seems glorious, but in fact you are restricted in all aspects. Even longevity is illegal. Although the spiritual mountain of the heavenly courts will give you some face due to the legacy of the Grand Pure One and me, and you are more carefree than ordinary demons without any backing, there is no result. It's best to get a position and cultivate. Fellow Taoist Taiching transformed into me and traveled west to teach the barbarians to become Buddhas. You have great merit in the heavenly courts. I'll ask you to help me. In the future, when I ascend, I'll bring you up to become an immortal. There will be a position in the Tushita Palace. It's nice. The Grand Supreme Lord has a wide network. It's not difficult for him to become a general in the 4 divisions or a Star Lord. However, the atmosphere in the heavenly courts has been bad recently. The deities all over the world talk about human relationship. In terms of relationships, it's very complicated. I'm afraid that you'll accidentally offend someone and fall into their trap. You're a monkey with a rebellious bone in your head. You're very rebellious. If you become a bandit in the future, you'll be suppressed by the capable experts invited by the spiritual mountain of the heavenly courts. You'll suffer. It's better for me to explain the Tao to you so that you won't be unlucky in the future. Even if you become a bandit, you have to understand it clearly. When you kill your way to the heavenly courts to settle the score, you'll be able to do it clearly. Master. The Monkey King was very touched. Thank you for your concern, Master. So, this time, we'll follow the rules of the deities. Chenong said, Don't look for the King of Qin first. The god of thunder and goddess of lightning will naturally plot against you more than once. This time, it's just a pretext. Pretext? The Monkey King was confused. Yes. Chenong said, You're clear about the abilities of that necromancer. The god of thunder and goddess of lightning aren't stupid. Why would they rely on this piece of trash to make things difficult for you? I think they just want to see you create trouble and offend the King of Qin. Then, they'll have a pretext to intervene and fight with you to embarrass you. The Supreme Elder's journey to the west is a grand event in the heavenly courts. If they attack for no reason, they'll violate the heavenly laws and offend the Supreme Elder. But now that you've created havoc in the Qin court, it'll give them a reason to intervene. They'll use the King of Qin's request to use that necromancer to fight with you. If the great heavenly venerable Jade Emperor finds out, it'll be reasonable. The Supreme Elder and I won't make things difficult for them. Chapter 846. The King of Qin's palace was in a mess. The Queen Mother was unconscious, and the King of Qin had lost all his face. The ministers and aristocratic families were hesitant. Looking at the fallen armors and the injured guards, the King of Qin was both fearful and angry. A moment later, a personal guard came to report, Your Majesty, the monkey scattered the soldiers who came to stop him and injured several of the generals who went to stop him. He left towards the west gate. Trash! The King of Qin roared. He suddenly stood up and was about to slap the personal guard. However, his gaze swept across the expressions of the group of guards below and he stopped. Although the King of Qin was muddle-headed, he was abnormally clear-headed when it came to political struggles. He realized that this incident had greatly damaged his prestige. If there was another mutiny, the Qin kingdom would have to change to a different king. He stopped raising his hand and slowly retracted it. In a low voice he said, Fine. The demon's demonic techniques are powerful. Although you are loyal and brave, you are just ordinary people. You can't do anything to him, so you can't be blamed. The King of Qin glanced at Ti Fengshi, who was paralyzed on the ground. An ominous glint flashed in his eyes. He gritted his teeth and said coldly, Tie up that evil villain. He pointed at Ti Fengshi. The surrounding guards didn't dare to disobey. They pounced on Ti Fengshi like wolves and tigers. They grabbed Ti Fengshi's arm and dragged him to the King of Qin. Only then did Ti Fengshi regain his senses. He was terrified. The King of Qin took out his sword and pointed it at Ti Fengshi's head. He said coldly, I will kill you, Your Majesty, stop. Ti Fengshi shouted, Are you going to admit defeat just like that? The King of Qin's hand paused. Ti Fengshi seemed to have grasped onto a life-saving straw. He hurriedly said, Your Majesty, although I deserve to die 1,000 times, that despicable monkey demon humiliated Your Majesty like this. He humiliated the Emperor and ministers of Qin Kingdom in this magnificent palace. Are we just going to let this matter go? A warrior can be killed but not humiliated. Such a deep hatred can be avenged in 9 lifetimes. Although I deserve to die 1,000 times, if you kill me and forget the main culprit, the monkey demon, how will the people of Qin view Your Majesty? Then tell me. The King of Qin said fiercely, What should I do? Your Majesty, please spare my life. I will use this crippled body to eliminate the demon for Your Majesty. Ti Fengshi knelt down and said, Even though that demon monkey's magic power is extraordinary and his supernatural powers are powerful, he has already offended the thunder god of the upper realm. I have 2 sworn brothers who have extraordinary martial arts skills. With the help of the deities from the upper realm, we will definitely be able to bring back that demon monkey's head and hang it in the hall to avenge the king. All right. The Qin Emperor pointed his sword at Di Fengshi and said, "Bring back the demon monkey's head, and I will pardon you for your great crime. I will bestow you with 500 households. If you don't come back, just wait for your corpse to be dismembered by 5 horses." Di Fengshi hastily issued a military order and reported to the king of Qin, "I am a lowly person. My humble words cannot reach the ears of the heavens. I ask that your majesty tell me." He then set up a stage to have the king of Qin write a yellow letter to inform the thunder god of the 9th heaven, universal lord, heavenly lord. Di Fengshi sent the letter on behalf of the king of Qin and burned the yellow letter. It turned into smoke and went straight to the Jade Emperor's desk. The Jade Emperor took a look at the king of Qin's letter and summoned the clairvoyant and clairaudient. "The king of Qin in the human world sent a letter to me. He told me that there is a demon monkey causing trouble in the lower realm. He asked me to send the troops of the Thunder Division to the lower realm to subdue the demon. The 2 of you are supervising the world. Why didn't you report this to me?" The clairvoyant and clairaudient looked at each other and were speechless. They only hesitated. Luckily, Lord Taibai Jinxing came forward and whispered, "Your Majesty, have you forgotten about the 2 saints who went west?" "What does this have to do with the 2 saints?" the Jade Emperor asked. Lord Taibai Jinxing whispered, "It was the king of Qin who was rude. He invited the old lord's incarnation to attend the banquet, but he was rude in the hall. That's why the monkey who led the cows for the 2 sages attacked. Now, the 2 sages have left and are heading west. So there is such a connection. Send this report to the thunder god of the 9th heaven's universal thunder residents of the Thunder Division and let them deal with it," the Jade Emperor said with his eyes lowered. The Jade Emperor threw down the decree and went straight to the residence of the universal lord, heavenly lord in Yuan Thunder. Immediately, the god of thunder and goddess of lightning, who had been lying in ambush, took the decree and could finally go to the lower bound to find trouble with the Monkey King. The 2 godly gods first found Di Fengshi and said to him, "Do you know how much trouble you have caused?" Di Fengshi was so scared that he fell to the ground. He hurriedly said, "Honorable divinities, this lowly one is just following orders. It was under the orders of the 2 of you to make things difficult for the demon monkey. How did I break the taboo and cause trouble?" The god of thunder and goddess of lightning already had a plan in mind. This was the way of doing things for the godly gods in the lower bound. It was called the killing mace. That mortal was afraid of power but not virtue. If the godly gods used him to do things, if they didn't kill his arrogance, he would inevitably be dissatisfied and hesitate, which would easily ruin things. Therefore, they had to scare him first and make him feel fear so that he could be controlled. "I asked you to take care of that monkey, not to provoke me. Just call that monkey alone. Why did you invite the old lord to the banquet and give him that attitude? You know that it is the Taishang old lord who has descended to the lower bound. Provoking him will not end well. Now, you even encouraged the king of Qin to send a report. The heavens have given me a decree to investigate this matter. If we take down the culprit, you can go to the 18 levels of hell and be reincarnated as a beast in your next life." Di Fengshi was scared out of his wits. He knelt down and said, "Have mercy, godly god. I have gone through fire and water for you and caused such a disaster. Please save me, godly god." That mother of lightning pretended to be red-faced. She persuaded him with kind words, "This matter isn't difficult. If you do it well, you can turn misfortune into fortune and turn a bad thing into a good thing. Someone has to take responsibility for this matter. If you didn't sow discord and obstruct the saints, it was that demon monkey that ran wild and caused chaos in the Qin palace. If nothing happens to that demon monkey, you will be out of luck. If you don't want to take responsibility, you have to make that demon monkey wear this hat. There must be a bad guy in this. You have us supporting you from the back, so you don't have to be afraid of that monkey. Just go and fight him." Mother of Lightning said, "I have traveled to the west and turned into a Buddha. This is the merit of the heavenly court. If you want to survive this calamity, you have to cooperate with me and make that monkey bear the sin of creating havoc in the Qin palace and alarming the Jade Emperor." Fangsha hurriedly kowtowed and said, "Godly God, please give me pointers on what I should do." Mother of Lightning whispered, "Then I have traveled to the west and have just arrived at the foot of Mount Zhongnan. Build a spell altar and let the King of Qin give you a decree. Spiritual Reverend God, invite the deities from all directions to help you fight against that monkey. If you defeat that monkey, I will have a way to make it suffer. When the time comes, you will have the merit of subduing demons. Even if you become a celestial and ascend to become an immortal, how difficult would it be to become a heavenly general in the Thunder Division?" Fangsha was overjoyed when he heard this. Mother of Lightning told him the size of the spell altar, the main points of the ritual, and even the true names of the deities from all directions. She also taught him how to write a talisman decree and put the Jade Emperor's imperial decree behind the talisman decree. Then, she taught him the art of moving mountains and filling seas, summoning wind and summoning rain, and 5 thunders execution. She also asked the King of Qin to send a strong man to build the spell altar at Mount Zhongnan in accordance with the law. A day later, the spell altar was built. Fangsha went outside the altar and walked straight up to the 30 feet tall platform. He saw the flags of the 28 constellations on the left and right, and 9 more flags with the names of the 9 brilliance star sovereigns. A long table was placed on top of the platform, and in front of the table was a huge cauldron with smoke rising from all directions. On the table was a gold plate with the name of Universal Transformation, Heavenly Venerable, engraved on it. Fangsha was holding an iron plate with the runes of the Thunderbolt City Secretary written on it and the signature of the God of Thunder and Mother of Lightning. On the left and right were altars made of 5-colored soil, and on the altars were the names of the 5 mountains monarchs buried in Jade Book. There were also many disciples and grand disciples of Fangsha writing talisman creation books there. There were a few small gods placed beside the altar, and they were the statues of the talisman envoys and the earth praisers. There were 2 necromancers on each side of Fangsha, and they were holding the tablets of the dragon kings of the 4 seas. There were also the 4 great marshals, 4 great heavenly masters, 4 great heavenly kings, and so on. There were a total of 36 heavenly generals and countless heavenly soldiers. The God of Thunder and Mother of Lightning looked at him from the sky. The God of Thunder said, "I've invited the fellow Taoists from all directions. Even though many of them refused because of Laojun, they all agreed after I said that we're only dealing with the demon monkey. When the time comes, the necromancer will perform the ritual, and the deities from all directions will respond accordingly. With the Jade Emperor's imperial decree, we won't go against the law of heaven." The Mother of Lightning smiled and said, "Even though we can't make that demon monkey submit, we can make it unable to advance or retreat. That demon monkey was ordered by the 2 saints. We blocked Laojun's path to the west, but the saints didn't show their divine arts. It must have come to the heavens to beg us to let it go. When it reaches our territory, isn't it easy to deal with it? Even if the saints blame us, we won't be in the wrong if we act according to the decree. Otherwise, how would the 5 mountains monarchs, the 4 blasphemous dragon gods, and the heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals dare to agree to us? After all, we're only borrowing Fangsha's hand. He will bear all the blame," the God of Thunder said coldly. Chapter 847. The ox cart had already arrived at the foot of Mount Zhongnan. Cult Master Chen got off the cart and gazed at the verdant and lush Mount Zhongnan in the distance. Ishi was leading the way in front. He had once built a thatched hut on Mount Zhongnan, which he called a temple. As soon as they arrived at the foot of the mountain, he invited Laozi to stay in his old hut for the time being. After resting for 2 days, they would continue on their journey. Monkey King followed behind Chen Ong, enjoying the scenery of Mount Zhongnan together. The Monkey King watched as Chen Ong walked up a cliff and looked at the Guanzhong plain from afar. It followed closely beside him and waited for Chen Ong to sit down before asking, "Master, I often heard you mention that Laozi's patriarch is the descendant of Taishang Lao Jun from the heavens and is also your fellow Taoist Taiching. These few days I've asked the nearby mountain gods and land god. They all said that although Li Laojun is the founder of the world, he is still on the right side of Taiching. These two are not the same person." Chen Ong just smiled and said, "What does this mountain god know? Speaking of which, cult leader Chen is far beyond the heavens, the sect leader of human Tao, the immeasurable heavenly lord. Right now, he is above the heavens, operating the human Tao, but I am here. Does that mean that I am not the same person as him?" The Monkey King hesitated. "Ancestral Master, are you saying that the Grand Clear Lord of Tao and Virtue and the Grand Supreme Elderly Lord, the current Ancestral Master, are two sides of the same coin? The Lord of Tao De and the Old Lord are in the Taiching realm of the Great Crimson Heaven, and the Tushita Palace of the Lihan Heaven. The Three Clears realm is at the highest point of the 33 heavens, and it is unknown how far away it is from the Lihan Heaven, but it is actually the same person." Chen Ong shook his head and smiled. "You know how powerful fellow Taoist Grand Pure One is, and yet you dare to guess the abilities of the sect master. Let me ask you, are you the same person yesterday and today?" "The me of yesterday and the me of today are both me," said the Monkey King. "Then why can't the Grand Pure Taoist Lord and the Grand Supreme Old Lord be the same person? To us, what is the difference between Nirmanakya, Sambhogakaya, self, incarnation, and doppelganger? It's just a different appearance of me. That Taoist Grand Pure One transformed into Pangu when he split heaven and earth apart 1,750 yuanhui ago. Every yuanhui, there's another Grand Supreme Elderly Lord splitting heaven and earth apart, also known as Pangu," said Chen Ong with a smile. "Therefore, Pangu is also the Grand Supreme Elder and the Grand Pure One. In ancient times, the Elder Lord transformed into Nuwa and refined rocks to mend the heavens. Therefore, Nuwa was also the Elder Lord. After the Grand Pure One transformed into Pangu and split the heavens and earth, his chi transformed into the Three Clear Ones, the Prime Clear Numinous Treasure, the Jade Clear Primordial Beginning, and the Grand Pure Virtue are all Grand Pure. How many identities and appearances does Taoist Grand Pure have? Can you count them clearly? I can only tell you that within this heavenly cycle, there are many ancient gods such as Tai, Taiyuan, Fuxi, and so on. I'm afraid that they're all transformed from Taoist Grand Pure. Even the Supreme Exalt of Haotian Golden Palace has a very strange background. I'm afraid." At this point, Chen Ong suddenly shook his head and stopped talking about it. "So that's how it is." The Monkey King nodded in realization. Chen Ong patted his head. "What are you thinking of now? To me, the Grand Pure One, Grand Supreme Elder, and Laozi are all one. They're like one person. It's because I'm like the Grand Pure One. I've already transcended one and know everything. However, to you, the Grand Pure Taoist Lord is the Grand Pure Taoist Lord, while the Grand Supreme Elderly Lord is the Grand Supreme Elderly Lord. If you don't see the source, you won't know the difference between them. You should just treat them as two people. Otherwise, it'll backfire. In the future, when you transcend this world and see the sect master of human Tao, the immeasurable heavenly Lord, it won't be me. It'll just be another grandmaster of yours. Unless one day, when the past and future are no different from you and enter an indescribable realm, you'll be no different from me in front of sect master Chen." The Monkey King could only nod his head. "Disciple understands." He continued, "Yesterday, that Di Fengshi was actually ordered by the god of thunder and mother of lightning. The two of them are really ignorant. Grandmaster is a saint, how can they provoke him? If it wasn't for Grandmaster stopping me, I'd beat him up. However, I can't be merciful this time. I'll definitely make him unable to leave. Chenong said, Monkey, you're really arrogant. The person with the highest position in this universe is the Jade Great Heavenly Lord. Since the creation of the world, this Jade Emperor's background is the most secretive. He's gone through 1,750 tribulations, and each tribulation lasts for 129,600 years. He's the master of this world, the supreme ruler of all gods and Buddhas. When I'm in front of him, I have to address him as the Jade Great Heavenly Lord. Even Laozi has to address him as his subject. The nobility of the three Pure Ones is below him. He's the master of the spirited mountain, the supreme ruler of the 33 heavenly courts. As for the heavenly courts, it's the imperial court that rules over the three realms. The Buddha of the spirited mountain in the west also has to stand above the heavenly courts. Those who are conferred the title of the spirited mountain in the heavenly courts are immortals, and those who are not are demons. I say I'm a saint, but that's just because I'm virtuous. I'm not a celestial immortal. Although I'm the leader of the Beyond Sky sect, I'm just an itinerant immortal in this world. The Thunder Department is a trusted aide of the heavenly courts and an important minister of the Jade Emperor. They're in charge of wind, rain, thunder, and lightning. They're in charge of subduing demons and devils. In the Beyond Sky where I came from, it's a combination of the Ministry of Civil Affairs and the Ministry of Public Security. As for the God of Thunder and Goddess of Lightning, they're high-ranking officials of the Thunder Department. They're at the provincial level. If the three realms are a country, then the Jade Emperor is the ruler of a country. The three Pure Ones are the chairman of the CPPCC, and Laozi is the vice-chairman of the CPPCC. Saints are just leaders of the academic world. Look at Kong Chiu, he's also a saint. When he dies of old age, even a ghost can capture him. As for me, the leader of the Beyond Sky sect, I'm just the leader of a foreign political party. This old man is the leader of the academic world and the vice-chairman of the CPPCC, Laozi. He's accompanying me, the leader of a foreign political party, to the spirited mountain in the special administrative region of the three realms. Speaking of which, I'm on the same level as the great heavenly Lord Jade Emperor. But I'm not in charge of anything in the three realms. You're my disciple, and you're also from this realm. You haven't been registered as an immortal. In front of the great heavenly Lord Jade Emperor, you have no rank, and you're not even an official. You're accompanying me and Laozi to the west. You're just a temporary driver. You've offended a provincial minister of the Ministry of Public Security. They're afraid of the face of Laozi and me. They're afraid of causing a diplomatic incident, so they don't dare to make things difficult for you in public. But you've instigated Ti Fengshi, an energetic member of society in the mortal world, to provoke the mayor of Qin Town, the king of Qin, to insult you, the driver, and neglect me and Laozi. What can you do? You've made a mess in the local government, and the king of Qin has reported you. The Jade Emperor sent the Thunder Department to investigate, and the documents fell into the hands of the god of Thunder and Goddess of Lightning. They're using this as a pretext to stop me and Laozi from going to the west. The procedure is reasonable, and the Jade Emperor's explanation is reasonable. If you want to reason with him, when you get to the Thunder Department, the God of Thunder will sit down and ask, "Who's in the court? Why are you reporting me?" Even if you go to the Jade Emperor, who do you think you are? How can you see the Jade Emperor? Even if the Jade Emperor gives me face and meets you, 1 day in heaven is 1 year in hell. How many years do you want me and I to wait at the foot of Mount Zhongnan? When the Jade Emperor gets angry and asks to investigate the reason for the project's suspension, the Thunder Department has the official document in hand. At most, we'll capture Ti Fengshi to be the scapegoat. What can you do? No matter how powerful your supernatural power is, no matter how mysterious your mana is, who's afraid of you when it's not in your body? Even if you have some status in the system, just like Lousy, a deputy state level, we're not in the same system, who can you control? How can the noble Lousy make things difficult for the high officials of the Thunder Department? They're just afraid that he'll look for the ninth heaven's thunder and universal heavenly lord because of Lousy. Chunong analyzed the situation for the Monkey King and said with a smile, "The heavenly court has its own rules, but it's not like the demons in the mortal world, who compete with mana and supernatural power. Whoever has the bigger fist is the boss. This is the chronic disease of bureaucracy, and you can't win with your ability. Unless you destroy the heavenly court and overturn the throne of the Jade Emperor, and become the Emperor of Heaven yourself, if you don't follow the rules, you'll be a demon rebelling, and you'll be going against the entire heavenly court. Moreover, I'm the leader of a foreign party. If I rebel in the three realms, wouldn't it be a foreign invasion? If I do, fellow Taoist Grand Pure One won't be able to tolerate me. However, if the important officials of the heavenly court like the three Pure Ones and four royals rebel and overturn the throne of the Jade Emperor, it'll be a military coup." Monkey King. This is the beauty of the system's anti-system. You have to work hard. Chunong analyzed the situation for him, and the Monkey King broke out in cold sweat as he listened. He felt the depth of the bureaucracy. He raised his head and looked at the dark clouds in the sky, as though there were countless generals standing in the clouds. Not long after, a strong wind blew. Looking down from the Zhongnan Mountains, a thick yellow fog rose from the ground like clouds. Even with the Dharma eyes of the Monkey King, he couldn't see the situation inside. Outside Xianying City, Di Fengshe looked at the Zhongnan Mountains. He stood on the high platform, holding an iron token in his hand. He chanted an incantation and burned a talisman on a candle. The 2 or 3 strong men below also picked up a document and set it on fire. A ping sound was heard and Di Fengshe's hair was disheveled. He slammed the iron tablet on the table. He chanted the names of the benevolent sacred great emperor equaling heaven of Mount Tai, the ruling sky manifesting sacred great emperor of Mount Song, the peaceful sky profound sacred great emperor of Mount Hung, and the golden sky sacred great emperor of Mount Hua. The god of thunder and goddess of lightning in the sky hurriedly presented the Jade Emperor's order for the Thunder Department to investigate the monkey demon causing trouble in the Qin court. They borrowed Di Fengshe's talisman and sent it to all the deities, requesting for their cooperation. The talisman messenger took Di Fengshe's document and the god of thunder and goddess of lightning's document and sent it to the Five Mountains Emperor. The Five Mountains Emperor only took one look and saw that the Jade Emperor's decree was there. He then sent the documents to all the mountain deities for them to listen to his orders. After this process was completed, hundreds of mountain deities brought their own spiritual mountains to the Five Mountains Emperor. They came to the sky to prepare. With Di Fengshe's order, they moved the 8 directions 5 mountains to the front of the Zhongnan Mountains. Chunong and the Monkey King saw the yellow fog rising in front of the mountains. Chunong laughed, "Look, the god of thunder and goddess of lightning's trick is here." The Monkey King saw that on the Guanzhong plain, countless spiritual mountains were erected in an instant. They were about 10,000 miles wide. The mountains overlapped each other and were boundless. With the strength of a mortal, he would never be able to climb over them in his lifetime. They were blocking the old lord's path to the west. The Monkey King groaned in his heart, "This is tough. The god of thunder and goddess of lightning are so ignorant, creating such a big scene. I, old son, am leading the way in front of the 2 saints, yet I create countless mountains to block my path. Isn't this making me look bad in front of the patriarch? The god of thunder and goddess of lightning fought with me, but he borrowed the power of the heaven court to move the mountains. He wants me to beg for mercy. That's impossible." Chapter 848. The deities of the 4 directions were all on the clouds. They could clearly see the 10,000 mountains outside of Mount Zhongnan, but Di Fengshe was a mortal with naked eyes. Even though he had the god of thunder and goddess of lightning to protect him, he had never seen it with his own eyes. He didn't know what this spell looked like, so he invited 2 of his sworn brothers. These 2 sworn brothers were the 2 demons on Mount Taowu outside of Xianyang City. When those 2 demons were living in the human world, they were fooling around in the city of Xianyang. Di Fengshe saw through them. Later on, fine wine and delicacies were offered to them. Di Fengshe was interested in befriending them. Only then did they become sworn brothers, pointing to the heavens and swearing to be golden orchid brothers. Yesterday, he sent a letter to 2 of his sworn brothers to come down and help him. The 2 demons brought along a close friend to Xianyang and were entertained by the king of Qin with good wine and meat. They have long wanted to show off their prowess, and this time they are even more impatient. Among the 2 demons, the eagle-like one prided himself on being resourceful and resourceful. He gave himself a nickname, Military Counselor Yin. He waved his hand and said to Di Fengshe, "That monkey demon didn't give third brother any face. When I was roaming around Mt Taowu, I don't know how many monkeys I've chewed. That newborn monkey was the smoothest and the most tender. But it couldn't stand me eating it, so it sneaked out of the mountain." Before military advisor Yin could finish, he was interrupted by his brother, General Lang. He was still indignant and said, "Big brother, why did you hit me?" Di Fengshe was embarrassed. It turned out that military advisor Yin thought he was resourceful, but he was actually a stubborn person. On the contrary, his big brother, General Lang, was a cunning person. After listening to military advisor Yin, he knew something was wrong. If the monkeys on the mountain finished eating, where could they go to eat? Were there monkeys at the foot of the mountain? The unfinished meaning of his words was naturally to steal the children of the mortals at the foot of the mountain to eat. For him to say such nonsense in front of the king of Qin's trusted officials, it was obvious that the demon was acting up, causing the faces of the Qin officials to turn ugly. On the contrary, the king of Qin was calm, as if he could not guess it. The celestial beings in the sky heard it clearly, and their expressions changed. The heavenly general of thunder was ready to make a move, but there were also celestial beings who were indifferent and looked on indifferently. The god of thunder and mother of lightning knew that the situation was not good, so she pretended to smile and said, "This fellow is also a piece of trash that deserves to die. Let him be the vanguard, and we'll kill him in the future." Fengshe hurriedly said, "How can that macaque be second brother's match? It's just that I had a fight with it, so it's not good for me to ask second brother to kill it. Otherwise, people will say that we're narrow-minded and intolerant. Why don't we ask second brother to scout out the enemy and see how that macaque is going to deal with it?" Strategist Yin laughed and said, "Ha ha. If I had known that this macaque would offend third brother, I would have taken its life when it passed by Mount Taowu. However, that day when it came in from outside the Great Wall, I didn't see it when it passed by the Hangfen Trail. Otherwise, third brother wouldn't have to face so many troubles." After saying that, he turned back to his original form and flew over. However, General Lang was cunning and felt that something was wrong. He thought to himself, "If that monkey demon is so easy to deal with, why would third brother set up such a formation? That human is more cunning than me, there must be something fishy about it." He then said, "Second brother, there's no hurry. I'll go with you and see how savage that macaque is. Fourth brother, do you want to go with me?" An honest-looking man in linen clothes walked out from behind and cupped his fists. "I'll go with my 2 brothers." Fengshe hurriedly raised the libation wine and wanted to bid farewell to his 2 brothers. The 2 demons casually drank the wine and threw the wine cups at their feet. The 3 of them didn't change back to their original forms and just rode the demon wind towards Mount Zhongnan. A gust of black wind rose from the flat ground and wrapped the 3 of them as they flew towards the west. On the other side, The Monkey King wanted to explore the 100,000 mountains and invited the Green Bull along. He knew that the Green Bull had been under Old Lord for a long time and had learned many tricks. He thought to himself, even if I can't break your 100,000 mountains formation, how can Brother Green Bull not be able to? The two of them rode on clouds and went straight into the mountains. This stretch of mountains spanned tens of thousands of miles. Wukong said, Elder brother, take a look. It's convenient for us to ride on clouds, and our feet are faster. We can walk back and forth in these 100,000 mountains in just a few hours. If we two ancestors went on a journey, it wouldn't take too much time. You should give up on this clever idea. The Green Bull shook his head and said, Do you think the ox cart under our two grandmasters is a small thing? I pulled it for a long time, and I know that the ox cart has its own universe. It can go through mountains of knives and seas of fire. It can probably cross the Milky Way and soar in the sea of stars. It's a top-notch magic treasure. I've seen countless treasures under Old Lord, but none of them can compare to it. If he wants to cross this mountain, he can do it with a pat on the ox cart. However, Old Lord Grandpa reincarnated with a mortal body. When he went west, he walked on the great Tao of the human world. I'm afraid he wouldn't use his supernatural powers. Your Grandmaster probably knew what the Grand Supreme Master was thinking, so he asked you to think of a way to walk on the great Tao of the human world. The Monkey King came to a realization and said, I see. This is also the scheme of the god of thunder and goddess of lightning. No wonder they are so sure that the 100,000 mountains can block us and we can only beg him. Bang! If that guy is standing in front of me now, I'll beat him up 100 times, even if I have to be broken by the Grandmaster. The two of them looked at the vast 100,000 mountains and frowned in puzzlement. A demonic wind blew in the sky. The three demons stood on the clouds and looked down at the burly man and the hairy macaque, who were deep in thought. Even though the Monkey King sensed something, there were quite a number of demons coming and going in the 100,000 mountains. Maybe they were demons that were passing by, so they stopped on the clouds to take a look. He didn't want to bother with them. Military advisor Ian on the clouds was the first to be unable to hold back and said with a smile, I was wondering how impressive he was. So he's just a 3-foot monkey. Why did he have to trouble my brother to make a move and scout the enemy's situation? That third brother is really useless. What's the point of us scouting? I'll just kill him with one claw and bring his corpse back. When the time comes, I'll ask that King Qin to serve us the best wine in the palace and hold a monkey hunting convention. General Lang was cautious after all. He held down his brother and said, Second brother, wait, be careful of tricks. Military advisor Ian replied, Big brother, you still don't know me? I'll just transform into my original form and go catch him. My eagle body can come and go freely, it's the natural enemy of apes and monkeys. It's fine if he's on a tree, but if he's standing on flat ground, it's the most convenient for me to go down from a height. Even if I can't take him down, if I spread my wings and fly, who can stop me? With a flap of my wings, I can travel 500 miles. Do you think I'll be afraid of that monkey? General Lang thought about it and let him go. He only reminded him to be careful. Military advisor Ian revealed his original form and flew in the sky, following from afar. It wasn't that he was being careful, but this was his nature. He was like a cat that had caught its prey and wanted to play with it. He couldn't stop doing it. The Monkey King was on the ground and had long felt the eagle staring at him. He raised his head and a divine light shot out from between his eyes. After it had refined its quantum brain, it had imitated the high-energy laser between its master's fingers, collected the vital qi of the sun, and refined it into a divine light of burning of the sun in its right eye. Together with the divine light of annihilation of the yin in its left eye, it could emit the divine light of yin and yang. When it reached the advanced level, it could even cut 100,000 mountains into two. However, the Monkey King's attainments in harvesting the vital energy of the sun and the moon were still shallow. Even so, killing a 500-year demon was as easy as chopping vegetables. No matter how fast military advisor Een flew, could he be faster than the divine light? With a slash of light, the huge head on military advisor Yin's body fell off and blood spurted out like rain. The green bull looked at it and said enviously, "This spell of yours is so powerful that even I can't withstand it easily. Is it your patriarch's personal teaching?" The Monkey King smiled and said, "Brother, are you willing to learn from me? It's just a small principle of vitality stimulation. If brother is willing to do those homework with me, you would have learned it long ago." Thinking of the homework that Chen Ong had given him, the green ox's body trembled. The silly, black, and thick man trembled like a sieve, like a kitten. He did not have any envious thoughts anymore and said hurriedly, "Then forget it. I'd rather be a little rough than learn those things that are like heavenly books." The green bull said softly, "The Grand Supreme Master has my supernatural power. What's wrong with me? Why would I want to learn from his family's terrifying knowledge?" The two demons in the sky were already scared out of their wits when they saw military advisor Yin's head spurt out blood. They fled in a panic. It was the honest man who picked up military advisor Yin's head before he left as a brother. After the two demons returned, they saw General Lang in a daze. The man with the surname Lu held military advisor Yin's head in his hand and cried so hard that he almost stopped breathing. When Di Fengshe saw General Lang in a sorry state and looked like he was in a daze, he went up and asked, "Big brother, why did you come back so quickly?" The demon surnamed Lu carried advisor Yin's head and landed on the platform. He cried, "Second brother." Second brother had just reached the macaque's head when he was beheaded by a beam of divine light. With that said, the demon surnamed Lu after that, he cried bitterly and was devastated. As soon as he said that, Di Fengshe was so shocked that the iron token in his hand fell to the ground. He looked down and saw blood dripping from the head. The wine that had spilled from the wine cup when he sent off military advisor Een had yet to dry up. It mixed with the blood and became even redder. Chapter 849. Di Fengshe saw Counselor Yin's head, which was the size of a dustpan and looked like a giant hai dong qing. It was neatly severed from the neck down, revealing a clean cut that had been scorched by the high temperature. The huge eyes were wide open with a hint of disbelief. Di Fengshe's face turned pale. He was so scared that he took a few steps back and bumped into General Lang. "One move." General Lang muttered to himself in a daze. Second brother didn't even take one move. He just told me to be careful and flew to the macaque's head. I saw a divine light shoot out of the macaque's eyes, and our second brother's head fell off. When blood spurted out, his wings were still flapping. Before General Lang could finish, he shivered and said to Di Fengshe, "I don't dare to take revenge anymore. Third brother, I've thought it through. This Mount Taowu is pretty good. Big brother." Di Fengshe didn't know what to say. The god of thunder in the sky looked at the eagle demon's head with a livid expression. A heavenly general of the thunder division saw it clearly. He took a deep breath and said, "How powerful! Even I might not be a match for such a powerful demon." We all saw the divine light spell clearly. It just circled around and cut off the head. This spell moves like thunder. We of the thunder department need to gather chi to cast thunder, but that monkey only needs to stare at it to kill. The disciples of the sage are indeed extraordinary, another heavenly general exclaimed. Fortunately, the Thunder Lord only wanted to fight with it. He didn't want to fight it head-on, otherwise. One of the Liujia immortal generals joked. Another Liujia immortal general continued, "Otherwise, I'm afraid the Thunder Lord would not be able to defeat it." After seeing the macaques attack, the celestial soldiers, generals, and immortal protectors were a little frightened. They didn't want to provoke such a powerful demon. If it was a wild demon without a background, they could just ask the Jade Emperor for everyone to attack together. There were 36 heavenly generals of the Thunder Department and 36 heavenly generals of the Do Department. Under Emperor Zhenwu, Marshal Tianping, and pagoda-bearing Heavenly King Li, the celestial palace was full of talents. How could there not be a single demon? However, the demons that could move the array were all demon powerhouses. The celestial court and spirited mountain wouldn't take action easily. However, the Monkey King was a demon with a background. How many treasures did the old lord have? Just one of them was enough to send everyone here away. Moreover, the immeasurable heavenly lord that the Monkey King followed was a cult leader from beyond the heavens. His magical powers were unfathomable. It wouldn't be easy to use the excuse of slaying demons to attack a demon with a background. It was the hardest to deal with. On the other side, the Monkey King and the Green Bull rode on the clouds and had a clear view of the altar outside Xianyang City. The Monkey King said, "I was wondering where these blind wild demons came from. So it's Tifangshi's sworn brother." Those celestial clouds stopped on the high platform. "I'm afraid they were sent by the God of Thunder to deal with us. It's not a small battle. Tifangshi is an idiot. It's impossible for him to move all the mountains in a day. However, if the God of Thunder and Goddess of Thunder and Goddess of Thunder and Lightning lend them a hand, it's not good for me to go to them directly. It's also convenient for me to distance myself from them." "Good plan. Very good plan." The Green Bull said, "Those celestials are full of evil tricks. I'm afraid you won't be able to deal with them. It's better to think of a way to let the two masters cross this mountain first. I have to teach them a lesson. Otherwise, they will really think that I, old son, am a vegetarian." The Monkey King's eyes turned and stared at General Lang, who was about to retreat. The Green Bull at the side was still trying to persuade him. "There's a breath of fresh air in your mouth. It's obvious that you have been a vegetarian since you were born. You are not anyone but... Brother, let's think of a way to move these mountains first." The Monkey King opened his eyes and shot out a ray of Tien Annihilation divine light. In an instant, a small hole appeared in the middle of General Lang's head. He fell head first in front of Tifangshi. Tifangshi was shocked. Seeing that another one of his sworn brothers had died, he didn't feel much sadness. He was scared out of his wits. He let out a strange cry and ran off the platform with his hands on his head. The Monkey King smiled and said, "It's a clean death. Brother, this mountain has 100,000 mountains. How long will it take to move all of them? Let's think of another way." The Green Bull disagreed. "If we move 10 mountains today, it will be 100 mountains in 10 days. Although this 100,000 mountains is vast, we only need to move a few hundred mountains to open a path. It's just 2 months, what's so difficult about that?" The Monkey King said, "If you move 10 mountains today, he will add 100 mountains tomorrow. They will finish paving the 100,000 mountains in the blink of an eye. Isn't it easy to fill your hole?" The Green Bull only said, "Let's try first." After saying that, he revealed his true form and used the divine power of the heavenly phenomenon. He seemed to be a few hundred feet tall. He placed the 2 mountains on his shoulders like carrying a load. He didn't feel heavy at all and his footsteps were still light. He walked towards the outside of the 100,000 mountains. In just a short while, he had already crossed half of the mountains. He was about to leave the 100,000 mountains and find a place to put the 2 mountains on his shoulders. It really wasn't difficult to open a path in 2 months. However, the Monkey King was right. Before the Green Bull walked out of the 100,000 mountains, there were mountain gods who reported this matter to the God of Thunder. The God of Thunder sneered, "Carrying mountains and seas. I want to see how many you can carry." After saying that, he ordered a few mountain gods to send mountains to press on the Green Bull's body. They first pressed 2 small mountains on the Green Bull's body. The Green Bull said, "Monkey King, why is my body a little heavier?" However, the Green Bull didn't show it on his face. The Monkey King said, "Brother, don't add more to your body. Be careful that you don't have enough strength." The Green Bull said, I still have strength left, but I'm not carrying it anymore? When the god of thunder saw that the green bull couldn't handle the small mountains, he ordered another mountain to press on the green bull. This time, he sent Wangwu and Taihang. Even the famous Hercules of the heaven, the two sons of Yi, could only carry one mountain each. As expected, as soon as the two mountains pressed on the green bull stopped in his tracks and shouted, "Brother Monkey King, look at what's going on. It's so much heavier all of a sudden, I can't hold it anymore." The Monkey King saw that the two mountain gods were trying to stop the green bull. He jumped up in anger and flew quickly on his cloud. He grabbed Taihang and Wangwu and shouted, "Where did these stupid gods come from? How dare you harm my brother Green Bull?" He opened his hand and struck down. Taihang hurriedly raised his hand to block, but he felt a huge force coming at him. His bones and tendons were all broken, and he was beaten into a ball by the Monkey King. With a crash, he crashed into a small mountain below him and fell to the ground. When the other god of Mount Wangwu saw what happened to the god of Mount Taihang, his face turned pale. He cupped his fist and said, "Grandpa, please wait. We were just following orders. Why do you have to make things difficult for us?" Chapter 850. The monkey's eyes were crimson red. With just a pair of fists, he got into a stance and attacked left and right, blocking the mountain gods outside of the green bull. However, there were 100,000 mountain gods in the 100,000 mountains. There were also Shi Gondang and the other divine generals under the 5-mountain deity. They stood at the side and rubbed their palms together. The number 1 guardian under the great monarch of the east of Mount Tai, Shi Gondang, shouted at Wukong, "You brute monkey, how dare you push down the spirited mountain and beat up the mountain gods?" The Monkey King showed his fangs and shouted, "I'll follow the orders of my patriarch and not make things difficult for you." The god of thunder and goddess of lightning found a necromancer in the human world and humiliated me and my disciple in public. My master said he would deal with it according to the rules, so I endured it. You helped the necromancer move the mountain and move the sea, blocking my path. My master said he wouldn't argue with you, so I endured it. Today, Brother Bull and I came here to carry the mountain and suffer, but you still want to harm me. Again and again, do you really think that I, old son, am a man without a temper?" The Monkey King was furious. He grabbed a mountain god near him and threw him on the ground, smashing down another mountain. The 100,000 mountain gods surrounded him. The Monkey King looked up to the sky and let out a long roar. His clothes were torn and the straw sandals on his feet were broken. His forehead was bulging and his eyes were sunken. His eyes were burning with anger. His proud and unyielding character stood erect. The heaven has its own rules. How can a monkey from the human world like you talk too much? Shi Gondang glared and shouted, "Where are the 100,000 mountain gods? Suppress this lawless monkey demon with me. Isn't it just 100,000 mountain gods? I'll kill them from here to there. Even if I overturn the 5 mountains, they won't be able to stop me." The Monkey King exerted force on his feet and his body expanded by 10 times. He was like an enraged ape. The quantum primordial spirit in his brain that had been in a semi-dormant state suddenly became active. Countless mathematical formulas and microscopic vital chi entered his eyes. As the quantum primordial spirit circulated, the vital chi of heaven and earth was absorbed by the Monkey King, igniting the furnace of anger in his chest. The clear spiritual chi in the world was absorbed into Wukong's body like clouds and mist. Under the pressure of extreme gravity and high temperature, it condensed and split, grinding into heavy and turbid chi. The surging turbid chi seeped into the body of the stone monkey, filling up the gaps in the cells and forging a body of Vajra. Although immortals were very heavy, they were still lighter than metal and stone of the same level. Only Wukong, whose body had expanded by tens of times, was still heavier than a body forged from fine steel of the same level. That punch contained tens of thousands of tons of force. Being grazed would result in injury, and being touched would result in death. "Transform!" the Monkey King shouted. The muscles on its body glowed with a metallic luster, and its hair was golden. It stood proudly in the clouds, and when the wind blew, its hair stood up straight like the waves of the sea. It casually slashed down, and a mountain deity held a steel mace in front of its body to block its attack. However, it was also slashed by the palm, and the attack landed on its chest. Just one hit was enough to deflate the mountain deity's chest, and it was unknown whether he was dead or alive. Sure Gondong's eyes were wide open. The contempt he had for the demons in the human world disappeared without a trace, but his arrogance was still there. He looked at his comrades that swarmed up and were all crippled, falling down from the clouds. The mountain gods that surrounded the Monkey King fell to the ground. No one was a match for the Monkey King. Sure Gondang shouted angrily, "How dare you!" Sure Gondang was the #1 war god of the 5 mountains under the Lord of Mount Tai. In his anger, he took out a pair of iron maces and went up to the Monkey King with a few protectors under the 5 mountains monarch. The Monkey King's iron palms were impenetrable. Every time he raised his hand, he would strike like a mountain. With a kick, he would kick away a mountain. He killed from one place to another, and wherever he went, many mountain gods would fall. Those that came to grab his legs would have their chests crushed by his kicks, and those that went to grab his hands would have their skulls smashed. Looking from Mount Zhongnan, the clouds in the sky were in a mess. The Qin officials stood on the high platform and watched. They also saw the clouds in the west were in a mess. It was already past noon, and the sun was still hanging high in the west. There were still 6 hours before the sunset, but the clouds in the sky were red like blood. Suddenly, a gust of wind blew from the west, and the officials on the high platform were all swaying. Some of them were even blown to the ground by the wind, rolling down the high platform and smashing into pieces. The officials faced the wind and opened their eyes with difficulty, wanting to see what was going on. With one look, they were shocked beyond words. On the 10,000 mountains in front of Mount Zhongnan, the wind blew away the clouds, revealing a huge empty space. Under the clear blue sky, countless celestial soldiers and celestial generals charged towards the center. In the sky, countless celestial soldiers were wearing golden armor and holding flags. They were like clouds in a forest, shouting and killing. In the center, dozens of celestial generals were fighting. The leader had a pair of maces that were like dragons, and the red embellishments were like fire. His shout was like thunder. He led dozens of celestial generals, and each of them was skilled in martial arts. They charged forward, but it was as if they had hit an iron plate. A giant golden-furred monkey tore apart their formation, and it grabbed a few celestial generals and hit them in the face. The celestial soldiers and celestial generals in the sky were knocked down from the clouds and fell to the ground like meteors. Their armor reflected the sunlight, and people could see them clearly. Under the bright sun, this scene was like meteors falling to the ground, one after another. The officials of the Qin government could see clearly that the meteors were falling like rain. When they thought about how these meteors were celestial soldiers and celestial generals that were knocked down, their hairs stood on end, and they were terrified. Monkey King fought his way from the center of the 10,000 mountains to the outside of this mountain range, and from the outside of the mountain range, he fought his way back to the center of the mountain range. Although he had knocked down countless celestial generals and celestial generals, Sure Gondang and the celestial generals under the 5 mountain deity Lord were no match for him. The god of thunder stomped his feet and begged, "My comrades, please help us! Quickly go and support General Sure." He called out, and another 36 celestial generals swarmed forward, not caring about the morality of the pugilistic world with this demon monkey. The 36 celestial generals of the Thunder Division were the elites of the celestial heavens, and all the demons in the wilderness trembled in fear when they heard of them. The 36 celestial generals of the Do Division and the 36 celestial generals of the Thunder Division were the main forces of the celestial heavens, and they were extremely famous and powerful. They didn't care about their reputation, and they surrounded and attacked Monkey King. Even though Monkey King was powerful and had powerful magic power, his palms could only block left and right, and he gradually fell into a disadvantage. This made the monkey squeak in anger. On Mount Zhongnan, Chen Ong sat on the roof, facing an 8 trigrams cauldron. Inside the cauldron, the 6 Ding divine fire burned brightly, and a metal rod floated in it. Its quality was the divine metal that was born from the explosion of a neutron star, and its weight was 100 million tons per cubic centimeter. This was a rod that could change its length at will. It was made from the nucleus of a neutron star that was 100 kilometers in diameter, and it could change its length at will. It was called the Point Mass Gravity Controller, also known as the Star Stabilizing Divine Metal. It had been 6 hours since Chen Ong opened the cauldron, and this divine weapon that had been tempered to the state of point mass was about to come out. The battle in the sky was in a stalemate, and the god of thunder was watching from afar. He gradually became impatient and even frightened. He turned around and begged, "My comrades, please help me." The deities around him couldn't answer him, and the god of thunder was sweating profusely. He begged twice, but no one helped him. He had no choice but to ask his old partner, Granny Feng and Yun Tong, to help him. He personally held a chisel, gathered his vital qi, and was about to strike. The tip of the chisel was aimed at the Monkey King's heart. The god of thunder gathered yin and yang, mustering the greatest strength he had in his life, and was about to chisel down. Beside him, Mother of Lightning begged, "Everyone, on account of our many years of friendship, don't let that demon monkey run rampant." Only then did someone jump out. It was Lord of Martial Virtue. He cupped his hands and said, "We are the generals of the celestial heavens. How can we let that demon monkey from the lower realm become so arrogant?" The 36 heavenly generals of the battle division had no choice but to attack together with him. On this side, the celestial heavens had 36 new troops. On the other side, the green bull carried the mountain and could only tangle with the mountain gods. Seeing the celestial heavens besieging him, the green bull's eyes were bloodshot. The Monkey King was in a murderous mood, and his quantum primordial spirit was active to the highest level. The heavenly generals who came up could block the attacks and attack any flaws. He shook his body and shouted, "Change." He also had 3 heads and 6 arms, and only took 4 sides. His defense was watertight, and even though there were 72 heavenly generals and more than a dozen guardians surrounding him, he was still able to defend. However, the god of thunder was striking in the sky, and Granny Feng was stirring up astral winds. The wind, rain, thunder, and lightning seemed to have grown eyes, surrounding and attacking the Monkey King. The Monkey King was caught off guard and was struck by lightning. His hair stood on end, and he became even more ferocious. "God of thunder! You coward, do you dare to come down and fight?" The Monkey King shouted 3 times, but the god of thunder pretended not to hear. Under such lightning strikes, even the Monkey King had to deal with the siege of so many heavenly generals. Even the Monkey King was gradually unable to hold on. At this moment, Chen Ong, who was on Mount Zhongnan, suddenly opened his eyes. The lid of the 8 trigrams cauldron in front of him opened wide, and a golden light escaped from the cauldron, flying towards the Monkey King in the sky. In an instant, it landed in his palm. Chapter 851. At this moment, the Monkey King was like a crazy devil. His quantum primordial spirit was able to calculate everything. Although it was an earth-shattering divine ability, such an omniscient and omniscient state was too demonic. If he was engrossed in it, his emotions and personality would be too insignificant when facing the endless calculation ability. Once he lost control, his personality would be diluted in the calculation ability, and the Monkey King, this stone monkey, would most likely develop a godlike stone heart. At this moment, the Monkey King could only let his heart monkey go, using his demonic nature to fight against his divinity. He exerted force in his legs and moved freely like golden light, pouncing toward the surrounding generals. He opened his mouth and revealed a pair of sharp canine teeth. "Beat this crazy monkey to death!" Shur Gondang bellowed in rage. Shur Gondang channeled all the origin chi in the sky into the dual truncheons in his hands. The metal truncheons were like flood dragons coming out of their caves, shattering the vacuum. With a swing of the truncheons, the clouds in the sky were shattered. When the truncheons were swung up, they covered the sun and moon. The truncheons were like a dragon, shattering dozens of mountains below. The Monkey King grinned, revealing his canine teeth. He didn't fight back and just leaped into Shur Gondang's embrace. His pair of iron palms carried a force of millions of tons, shattering Shur Gondang's armor and smashing heavily into his chest. When the truncheons landed on the Monkey King's head, a loud clanging sound rang out. An earth-shattering sound rang out. Shur Gondang's internal organs were shattered, and he actually couldn't hold onto the truncheons anymore. He fell down from the clouds, while the Monkey King merely shook his head. His golden fur fluttered in the wind, and he was actually unharmed. Shur Gondang coughed out blood and retreated. However, this truncheon still brought some trouble to the Monkey King. The 36 Thunder Generals swarmed up and took advantage of the moment when the Monkey King was dizzy and slow to react. They grabbed his hands and legs. The surrounding soldiers and generals took this chance to grab hold of the Monkey King. The Thunder Gods who were far away in the sky were overjoyed when they saw this, and the chisel in their hands flew rapidly. The Jade Pivot Thunder, the Jade Manor Thunder, the Jade Pillar Thunder, the Prime Clear Great Cave Thunder, the Fire Wheel Thunder, the Battle Thunder, the Wind Fire Thunder, the Swift Thunder, the North Pole Thunder, the Purple Micro Jade Pivot Thunder, the Divine Firmament Thunder, the Immortal Metropolis Thunder, the Tai Heaven Blasting Thunder, the Purple Manor Thunder, the Divine Firmament 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 Thunder, the Divine Firmament. For a time, the astral winds turned into blades that slashed toward the Monkey King. Wind and rain howled in the sky, and the ice blades and golden spears mixed with the wind and rain slashed down on the body of the stone monkey that was 10 zhang tall. Thunder rumbled in the sky, and countless silver snakes danced wildly. Fire chains slashed through the air, wreaking havoc on the Monkey King's body. Although the Monkey King's fur was still golden and dazzling, it was in a mess. A trace of gold and silver blood with a metallic luster dripped down from the messy fur like mercury and sprinkled into the sky. "That demon monkey is injured!" a god general in midair exclaimed, his voice filled with joy. Instantly, the sky was in an uproar. The mountain deities and celestial generals that had lost their limbs and were crippled on the ground revealed expressions of joy. The deities that were heavily injured, or had their conjured bodies damaged, or had their spiritual mountains destroyed, were almost in tears. The number 1 war god of the 5 mountains, Shur Gondang, vomited blood as he laughed and said, "He finally can't hold on anymore. Celestial generals, quickly get rid of this great demon." On the other side, the Thunder God also heaved a sigh of relief and said to Mother of Lightning beside him, "He finally got injured. I thought he was made of iron." Mother of Lightning laughed and said, "Even if he was made of iron, he should have softened after so many beatings." The Monkey King roared into the sky, but the dozens of celestial generals brought out thunder and fire chains to bind him. They even cast an inescapable net on him. Fearing that the Monkey King would break free, the celestial soldiers and generals brought out all kinds of chains to bind him. They even borrowed the dragon binding rope from the dragon scraping platform and the immortal binding rope from the immortal slaying platform. All kinds of celestial weapons were used to bind him. The Monkey King struggled with all his might, but he couldn't break free from the endless chains. Sure Gondang sighed and said, "I haven't seen such a powerful demon in many years." Marshal Wenqiong was also a general under the great emperor of Dongyu, one of the 4 great marshals of the celestial heavens. His status was even higher than Sure Gondang's. He adjusted his crooked helmet and looked at the horrifying scars on his armor. He sighed and said, "I'm afraid even the Bull Demon King of Jilei Mountain isn't this powerful. If you didn't risk your life, I'm afraid we would have to ask the 5 elders of the 5 directions to capture him. The last time we had such a fierce battle was when you the Great was controlling the floods. We fought against Wu Zhiqi of the Huai River." Heavenly King of Splendor Light Marshal Ma recalled and said, "That was also a monkey. Are all monkeys so powerful?" The 4 marshals looked at the Monkey King, who was still struggling in the heavy shackles. Their eyes were filled with 1,000 emotions. Sure Gondang struggled to stand up and advised, "You brute monkey, you don't know the king's name. You deserve this tribulation. However, I can see that you are a great talent in martial arts. It's a pity to die for nothing. If you apologize, I, Sure Gondang, will put in a good word for you. The great heavenly venerable Jade Emperor will grant you the title of Heavenly General. We will all be officials in the same court, and you will also get a positive result. Do you admit to your crime?" "Bah!" The Monkey King scolded with a smile. "I cultivated hard and sought Tao with Master, not to become a dog in the heavens. One day, I will break free from these heavy shackles and go beyond the heavens to have a look. I will wander between the heavens and earth. I will let the Jade Emperor not bind my heart, and the Buddhas of the 4 directions not go against my will. Detachment, freedom, seeking, and enlightenment. That is the true freedom. How can such a free and unfettered aspiration be satisfied by a positive result?" The Monkey King smiled and sat down with a peaceful and joyful expression. At this moment, he came to a realization. "Master, you said that I can't control my heart. So, this heart is freedom?" On the other side, Sure Gondang was so angry that his skin turned green. He scolded, "How dare you, you demon, be so impudent? You really don't deserve to be a son." The god of thunder and goddess of lightning came from afar on a cloud. When they saw the Monkey King, they all scolded, "Heavenly General Sure Gondang, don't be angry. This kind of demon always has some crazy desires." They then looked at the Monkey King and said, "You crazy monkey, you have finally fallen into my hands." The goddess of lightning said, "Peel off his skin and pull out his tendons. Let's see if he can still be so arrogant." The god of thunder pondered for a moment and said, "Then Lao Jun, how can he care about Lao Jun?" The goddess of lightning sneered. "Look around, how many people has he offended? Even if Lao Jun comes, what can he do?" The god of thunder looked around and saw that the celestial generals had broken limbs and were vomiting blood, suffering from internal injuries. A small half of the 100,000 mountain gods had died, and their conjured bodies were heavily injured. There were also many who couldn't recover even after 100 years. The Thunder Division and Battle Division all had ugly expressions. Even those who were lucky were covered in dirt. The god of thunder didn't panic but was happy instead. He thought to himself, "This monkey has offended so many people. Even if Lao Jun comes, it'll be hard to save him." He immediately said, "Then raise the demon-slaying platform and let this fellow die a horrible death. Then, go to Yenluo and inform him that he must finish his journey through the 18 levels of hell." The Monkey King's heart was calm, and he only felt that his mind was clear. All the demons in the past were clear and no longer difficult to bear. He operated his quantum primordial spirit and gradually regained control of himself. He saw his master sitting in front of the pill furnace a few hundred miles away. Suddenly, he raised his head and smiled at him. The Monkey King also smiled and sang, "Break the stubborn stone, not the Monkey King, release the shackles of the heart monkey." As the song ended, he saw a golden light rising from Mount Zhongnan, passing through the void and landing in his hand. When the golden light dissipated, he saw that it was a stick as thick as a chopstick. It felt extremely heavy in his hand. It was the star core that controlled gravity and tore through the void. He immediately understood. Under the operation of his quantum primordial spirit, he understood the special theory of relativity, general theory of relativity, and various other principles. He understood the essence of gravity and spacetime. With just a shake, the small stick instantly became thicker and longer. It was bright and round. When the stick rose, the color of heaven and earth changed. When the stick fell, the mountains and rivers tumbled. Be it the immortal binding rope or the dragon binding rope, it only took one stick to shatter them. Some of the heavenly generals who noticed the macaque cried out in shock, "The monkey has escaped." But it was too late. The monkey shattered the vacuum and broke free from the shackles. He raised his stick towards the sky, and the color of the wind and clouds changed. When the stick landed, spacetime distorted. It was as if an infinite point of mass had landed in the dimension of spacetime. The surrounding heavenly generals felt that they couldn't control themselves. A strong force that could crush their bones and muscles into a ball pulled them towards the head of the Monkey King's stick. The 100,000 mountain gods' boundless force landed on them, and their flesh and bones collapsed into a ball. Even if the heavenly soldiers and heavenly generals had high cultivation and could maintain their dharma bodies under the infinite gravitational force, they couldn't help but fly towards the Monkey King's stick. When the stick came down, it killed 100,000 mountain gods and shattered countless heavenly soldiers. The heavenly generals and thunder generals all had their dharma bodies destroyed. The god of thunder and goddess of lightning only touched the top of their heads with the iron stick, and their brains splattered everywhere. Feng Pu and Yun Tong were in big trouble, and Lu Ding and Liu Jiao were in big trouble. The surrounding deities were also involuntarily involved. On the ground, Qin's people could clearly see stars falling from the clouds like rain. For a moment, the wind and rain in the 100,000 mountains stopped. After a short while, the rain of blood poured down, and the deity's blood soaked the land and fertilized the vegetation. The 100,000 spiritual mountains were filled with spiritual energy, and the lingji and immortal herbs were swaying in the wind. The jasper flower tree was flourishing, and it was like a celestial court. On the heaven court, the Jade Emperor stopped writing, and the 5 emperors were furious. On Mount Zhongnan, Laozi held a copy of Tao Te Ching and sighed. Chenong looked at the sky and smiled. Laozi pushed the door open and stood beside Chenong, saying, "This calamity is over, and the journey to the west will continue. Fellow Taoist, it's time to clean up the mess." Chenong looked at the chess pieces in front of him and reached out to touch them, messing up the chessboard. He smiled and said, "It's just the destruction of my Dharma body. I won't die. Why would fellow Taoist Jade Emperor blame me? Besides, I still want to ask the great heavenly venerable for an official position. I can't let the Monkey King cause trouble. The bigger the trouble he causes, the higher my official position will be. If he beats up the 5 Mountains Emperor and causes trouble in the Lingshao King Palace, maybe I'll be one of the 5 elders?" I was too engrossed in playing chess with the Grand Supreme Lord and let the monkey leading the ox go. My own disciple made the 5 mountains uneasy, and the heaven court restless. He injured the 4 heavenly generals and caused trouble in His Majesty's Lingshao King Palace. I feel very guilty too. I'll teach that monkey a lesson when I get back. Ha ha! Chen Ong and the Grand Supreme Lord looked at each other and laughed. They placed the chessboard and played another game. Chapter 852. The Monkey King stepped on the clouds above the 100,000 spiritual mountains and caressed the star god precious iron. He said in realization, "I see. Master, I understand." The green bull shook off the layers of mountains on its body and stepped on the remains of countless mountain gods. It felt guilty. After all, it was the bull raised by the Elder Lord, unlike the lawless monkey taught by Chenong. It knew where the majesty of the celestial heavens was and knew fear. When it saw the 100,000 mountains stained with the blood of immortals, it knew that it had made a huge mistake. It hurriedly said, "What do you understand? Monkey King. You've made a huge mistake." The Monkey King lifted the Jingu Bang and only carried it on his shoulder. "I understand why Master sent this rod over." The green bull shook its head and said, "Why? If not for this powerful treasure, you would have been escorted to the demon-slaying platform by the god of thunder and goddess of lightning. I saw it clearly from below. When this rod is swung, I'm afraid it's as heavy as the 100,000 mountains added together. No one can block it. If Sage Chun didn't send such a powerful weapon, I'm afraid you and I would have to lay down here with a few thousand kilograms of bodies." "You don't understand my ancestor," the Monkey King said. "If it was as simple as sending a handy weapon, it would be easy. You know that my master has always looked down on boorish people who only know how to wield weapons. When he taught me the divine arts, he only taught me the form. According to the principles of the great Tao, he supplemented the details. That's the essence and test that I have to comprehend. I've already seen through Master's test. This isn't just a weapon. It's also homework." "Homework." The green bull was so scared that it took a few steps back. The green bull that didn't show any fear when facing the attacks of the 100,000 mountain gods suddenly changed its expression. The Monkey King didn't notice the green bull's abnormality. Instead, he said excitedly, "Master must have seen my indestructible Vajra body and noticed the flaws and inferior parts in it. That's why he sent me this weapon. Not only is it to help me escape, but it's also to teach me how to transform my Vajra body. This star god precious iron is a sample to teach me how to transform my battle body. The purpose of this assignment is for me to comprehend that change." The Monkey King thought deeply and couldn't help but scratch his ears and cheeks in excitement. "Why is the plan that Master passed on to me to imitate the Huang Ting body and soul so crude? Other than a quantum bionic brain and a quantum primordial spirit, there are only various outlines and formulas. Other than the principles of the evolution of vitality and the generation of the great Tao, there are actually no details at all? I originally thought that Master had yet to perfect this divine ability, but now it seems that this divine ability is just like that. Master must be hoping that I can perfect the transformation of this divine ability. If I only follow Master's design, then my greatest achievement will be the design on the blueprint. Only by continuously learning, continuously transforming, and continuously improving can one surpass Master's plans and create a world of their own. Master is teaching me to use all things as my teacher and surpass everything." The Monkey King hadn't been excited for long before he said with a bitter face, "The name that Master gave to this divine ability is truly too strange. Even when I say it out loud, I feel very uncomfortable. If someone asks me what this divine ability is in the future, how am I supposed to say it out loud?" The Monkey King scratched his claws and his eyes suddenly lit up. He said to the green bull, "Brother Bull, what do you think of a new name for this divine ability?" The green bull said, "Just name it yourself, why are you asking me?" The Monkey King said, "This divine ability was obtained by the founding master from the heaven and earth. There is a spirit that is constantly changing and constantly surpassing. Its essence is the art of transformation. Those who change originate from battle, so the perfection of this divine ability should also be in battle. Those who fight are victorious, so this divine body of transformation should be named as victorious in battle." With this divine ability, when I meet gods, defeat Buddhas, defeat devils. No matter who comes, I will defeat them in what they are best at. In front of Buddhas, I will be victorious in battle. In front of Buddhas, I will be victorious in battle. In front of gods, I will be victorious in battle. That founding master told me before that the art of transformation in the world is nothing more than learning and imitating. Only my divine ability not only needs to be learned and imitated, it also needs to be learned and won. When I transform into gods and Buddhas, I will be more powerful than gods and Buddhas. When I transform into demons, I will surpass demons. Only in this way can I live up to this divine ability. The green bull listened in a daze and only nodded at the side. Meanwhile, the Monkey King became more and more excited as he spoke. He raised the Jingu Bang, and that heavy and turbid air that existed before the creation of the world warped space, and even affected time. The law and concept of the weight of pure mass was displayed in front of the Monkey King. The Monkey King circulated his quantum primordial spirit and countless information and data from the fixing star divine precious iron started to calculate. The various deviations and evolutions of neutron star matter in the vital gas state were extremely mysterious. Chun Ong used the 8 trigrams furnace to refine the neutron star's core to obtain this iron. Not only did he construct a stable self-gravitational force harmonious model, this prevented the iron from collapsing the entire continent with its own gravity the moment it came to the 4 great continents. The powerful gravitational force would completely collapse the material core of this world. It was equivalent to adding a controller constructed by the gravitational system on the neutron star mass. It also allowed the neutron star matter of the material universe to be logically self-consistent with the universe of vital gas, correcting the deviations in the basic state of matter. This was what the Monkey King wanted to learn. Imitating the changes in the aura of the fixing star divine precious iron, the vital chi of the Monkey King's stone monkey form gradually changed. It took in a breath and opened its mouth to suck in the 80,000 mountains from below. The Monkey King's mouth was like a black hole, controlling the distortion of gravity and sucking in more than half of the 100,000 mountains under its feet. The closer it was to the Monkey King, the greater the disparity in the space-time frame of reference. In the eyes of the green bull, it seemed that those mountains had shrunk to the size of sesame seeds and were thrown into the Monkey King's mouth. In reality, it was the influence of the powerful gravitational force around the fixing star divine precious iron that distorted space and shrunk thousands of mountains into a mustard seed. Taking the sun and moon, shrinking thousands of mountains, distinguishing right and wrong, manipulating the universe. The green bull seemed to have thought of something and cried out in surprise, "Tongbi divine monkey!" The Monkey King swallowed the 80,000 mountains into its stomach. With just a spin, it disintegrated the vital chi within. Imitating the principles learned from the fixing star divine precious iron, it refined the mountains into billowing turbid chi. It shrunk the fixing star divine precious iron to the size of a toothpick and swallowed it into its stomach. It slightly released a trace of gravitational force and collapsed the billowing turbid chi into a single point. Under such powerful pressure, it forcibly refined the vital chi of the 80,000 mountains into the extremely heavy innate turbid chi when heaven and earth were created, the degenerate matter of vital chi state. The Monkey King used the degenerate innate turbid chi to reconstruct its corporeal body. That stone monkey's original form was as heavy as the 80,000 mountains. Even though it was not 1/10,000th of the fixing star divine precious iron, it was only because the 4 great continents lacked materials that the Monkey King was unable to cultivate to such a state. When he had the time in the future, he would travel to the chaos and absorb countless materials. Then, he would be able to achieve such a transformation of the neutron star state in an instant. Using the mountains to stop me, I'll tell you not to even think about taking back the mountains. Look at that land of the mountain god. Where is he going to get back the spiritual mountains without the divine position? The Monkey King grinned and said, "Brother Bull, look, the mountains are gone." The Green Bull looked at the empty Guangzhong plains in a daze and said quietly, "The mountains are gone." In the blink of an eye, the Green Bull said frantically, "Brother Monkey! You're my brother! This 100,000 mountains is the blessed land of the spiritual mountains of Middle-earth. How many immortals abodes of immortals, how many mountain gods divine regions, you swallowed them all. Do you want the 5 mountains great emperor to fight you to the death? You're in big trouble. You're in big trouble. Even if the Dragon King uses all the water in the 4 seas, he won't be able to fill the hole you dug. Didn't I give them the remaining 20%? The Monkey King laughed. In the purple bamboo forest of the southern sea's Locket Mountain, the Guan-Yin Bodhisattva, who was meditating, suddenly opened his eyes and said to the Dragon Girl of Good Fortune, who was beside the lotus platform, "Go and get my mana vase. I'll give it to the 5 mountains great emperor to subdue demons later." The Dragon Girl of Good Fortune chanted and left. After a while, the Dragon Girl of Good Fortune returned with the bottle. The Bodhisattva withdrew his dharma and chanted a mantra. The suet jade bottle turned into a ray of light and flew towards Mount Tai. On Mount Zhongnan, Chun Ong suddenly paused. He picked up a chess piece and placed it on the bottom south corner of the chessboard. On the southern sea, when the jade vase turned into light, a white chess piece suddenly fell from the sky and stuck to the vase, causing it to fall and turn into a mountain. The Bodhisattva in the purple bamboo forest suddenly frowned and pointed at the Locket Mountain. The mountain shook 3 times. The circular mountain that looked like a chess piece shook 3 times. After 3 times, it connected with the earth vein. If it was moved again, the earth vein would be shaken and the southern sea would be overturned. Outside of the eastern sea, the immortals of the Fangzhong and Ingzhou Islands suddenly summoned a child and said, "The Eastern Sublime Gracious Divine Emperor is the same as me as the 5 elders of the 5 directions. Today, he has something to ask of us. We can't refuse him and have to go to Mount Tai to help him subdue demons. After I leave, all of you have to close your caves and recite the Yellow Court. Do not be reckless." Before they could finish, a white chess piece fell from the sky and landed between the 3 islands, forming another island. The immortals of the 10 continents and 3 islands had a huge change in expression. They suddenly stopped talking and only said after a long time, "Forget it. Forget about this matter." After that, they stopped talking. The child trembled in fear and didn't know what the 3 elders meant. He could only agree and leave, secretly pondering about it. On the chessboard where Chun Ong and Laozi were playing chess, Chun Ong placed dozens of chess pieces on the board. Laozi twirled the chess piece and said with a smile, "If Cult Master is not focused, I'm afraid he will lose this game." Chapter 853. Chun Ong already had a plan in mind. Although the Monkey King had only cultivated for a short period of time, he was diligent and eager to learn. Compared to the good-for-nothings in the Heavenly Court, he was much more capable. Other than a few of the Heavenly Court's bigwigs, he was no longer afraid of anyone. Among the bigwigs in the Heavenly Court, the 3 pure ones had long gone into seclusion. Moreover, the Tai Ching and Cult Master Chen were old friends, so they would not interfere. Among the 6 royals, the Southern Extremity Longevity Emperor and Wukong were almost on par. If they were to fight with the monkey's innate battle prowess, apart from Erling Shen, Wukong's battle prowess was second to none. Great Emperor Ziwei of the North Pole was deeply feared by the Jade Emperor. He was the second in line to become the Celestial Emperor of this realm. The Great Emperor of the North Star Upper Palace and the Great Emperor Ziwei were biological brothers. They had always been close to the Ziwei star god's bloodline. Just think about how all the stars in the universe were under the control of the Ziwei star god. Great Heavenly Venerable Jade Emperor had even taken away the head of the Great Emperor Ziwei star gods. How could he allow the Great Emperor Ziwei to intervene in the affairs of the Celestial Court? The Sky-bearing Empire followed the example of the Earth Emperor and even gave their godhood to the Yenluo King. they would not interfere either. Among the remaining people who could take down Wukong, Emperor Qing Hua and the Heavenly Lord of Tai and Nirvana had always been at odds with the Western Buddha. Now that the Jade Emperor had gotten close to the Western Buddha, he would probably be happy to see the Western Heavenly Spirit Mountain suffer a setback. Among the other 5 elders, Chun Ong had already stopped the South Pole Temple of Guanyin Bodhisattva and the 3 islands and 10 continents Celestial Lord Dong Hua Great Emperor. The Spirited Mountain was blocked by the Laojun and Chun Ong. If they wanted to go to the Nanzhan Section Continent or the Dongsheng Divine Continent, they would have to pass through the Zhongnan Mountains. At that time, Chun Ong would have to invite them to play chess. The Northern Celestial Lord Northern Mystic Spirit Dumu was the mother of the North Pole Emperor Ji Wei, and would not interfere either. Meanwhile, the Yellow Heaven Great Deity, Yellow Pole Great Deity, was rubbing his palms together, preparing to make a big news. He probably didn't have time to trouble the little Monkey King. The only ones to worry about were the Eastern Mountain Prefect, the Mount Tai God, and the Eastern Sublime Gracious Heavenly Emperor. The 5 Mountains God was the leader of the gods of the mountains and rivers. After the sky-bearing empire imitated the Earth Emperor, he became the leader of the gods of the earth. This time, the god of thunder plotted against the Monkey King. The foundations of the 8 righteous gods of the heavenly court and the 3 star gods were not damaged. At most, they would lose some phase. The Thunder General of the Thunder Division and the God General of the Battle Division had been fighting each other for years. A mere damage to a Dharma body was not enough to affect their foundations. Only the bloodline of the mountain deity would suffer a great blow. Forget about those unlucky mountain gods. If the Monkey King swallowed the 80,000 mountains in one gulp, the bloodline of the earth deity would be doomed. The 5 Mountains monarch would definitely not let the Monkey King go. Even if the other 4 monarchs were powerful, they were not a match for the Monkey King. Only the Eastern Mountain Prefect was an ancient deity. Before the rise of Yenluo, he represented the sky-bearing empire and imitated the Earth Emperor to rule over the Earth deity, the Netherworld. He was experienced and powerful. An ordinary Monkey King might not be able to defeat him. Originally, there was still Erlingshin Xianxing at the mouth of the river to worry about. However, since the Monkey King had offended the 5 Mountains monarch, Erlingshin would definitely not make a move. Even his uncle, the Jade Emperor, would not be able to invite him. The West Mountain monarch, Mount Hua Prefecture Prefect, had a deep grudge with Erlingshin. If the Monkey King came to find trouble with him, Lord Xianxing would only clap his hands in delight. He might even lend a helping hand. In the heavenly court, if the universal heavenly lord and the true martial heavenly emperor did not make a move, the rest would just be mediocre and not worth mentioning. With such a plan, the Monkey King's trip to wreak havoc in the 5 Mountains was still within his control. As long as he did not overturn the cloudy palace of the Golden Arches, Chun Ong would have a way to calm the situation and take responsibility for the matter. In the end, it would be nothing more than a battle of words. The Monkey King has no worries this time. As for the Eastern Sublime Gracious Heavenly Emperor and the Eastern Mountain Prefect, their statuses were extremely high. Naturally, he wouldn't make a move unless it was an ordinary matter. He would wait until Wukong overturned the 5 mountains and the earthly gods couldn't take him down for a long time before he clashed with Wukong. The Monkey King. This is the test I left for you. If you can't defeat the Eastern Mountain Great Emperor, the 5 Elements Great Mountain will be changed to the 5 Mountains Great Mountain. As Chun Ong thought of this, he smiled and thought, the Jade Emperor first removed the Eastern Mountain Prefect's authority to rule the Netherworld, then suppressed the Earth deities and even handed the River deity's bloodline to the Dragon Clan. I'm afraid he has the intention to suppress the Eastern Mountain Prefect, the head of the 5 Mountains. There are 2 people who pose the greatest threat to his position as the Great Heavenly Lord. One is the Master of the Stars, the brother of the Big Dipper and the son of the Lady Mother of the Chariot, the Great Emperor of Zi Wei. The second is the Lord of the 5 mountains, the Lord of the mountains and rivers, the Eastern Mountain Great Emperor, who was once the Emperor of the Netherworld. Both of them have the qualifications to be the Emperor of Heaven. For example, the Jade Emperor has been cultivating since he was young. He bitterly experienced 1,750 tribulations. Each tribulation should be 129,600 years. Therefore, there should be a celestial emperor who taught Wukong not to have any rash thought. But didn't the great emperor of Zi-Wei and the Eastern Mountain Emperor also go through countless tribulations? They have been cultivating hard since 1,750 tribulations. The Monkey King can't be the Emperor of Heaven, but can't they be the Emperor of Heaven? Therefore, the Master of the Stars lost all his starlight, and the Sanheng city became empty. The 9 brilliant star gods, the Northern Dipper and the Southern Dipper, the Northern Dipper, and the 28 constellations only know the Jade Emperor, but not the great Emperor of Zi-Wei. Another Lord of the Netherworld, the Lord of the Earth deities, actually handed over the power of the Netherworld to a junior, the Yenluo Emperor. The Lord of the Mountains and Rivers, even the position of the river god of the 4 blasphemies, was given to the Dragon Palace. The Lord of the Mountains and Rivers couldn't even control the river gods. Even though the Western Buddha sect was prosperous for a while, how could he threaten the Jade Emperor's position as the Emperor of Heaven? Therefore, it was only natural that he supported the Spirited Mountain and suppressed the great Emperor of Zi-Wei and East Mountain. Not to mention these 2 emperors, even the Lord of the 3 islands and 10 continents, the Eastern Flower Emperor, was forced to call himself the immortal father of the 10 continents and 3 islands, and Qing Hua Empress hid his emperor title and became the Tai Nirvana Heavenly Lord. This time, it's fine if the Monkey King doesn't succeed. But if he really causes the Eastern Mountain Emperor to be disgraced, I'm afraid he will follow the great Heavenly Lord's wishes and remove the title of the Eastern Sublime Gracious Divine Emperor. At that time, in order to further suppress the Eastern Mountain Emperor, the Jade Emperor might even let me take the position of the Eastern Mountain Emperor's 5 immortals and 5 elders. What's the reason? Chenong laughed. Naturally, it's because I subdued the Monkey King and quelled the chaos. I'm a virtuous person. After the old lord and I pass away in the West, they can rightfully confer me the title of Immortal Elder Dongfang. A sect master from beyond the heavens naturally has a much weaker foundation than a lord of mountains and rivers. They want to use me, a dragon crossing the river, to suppress the local snake, the Eastern Mountain Monarch. Dongfang Fuxing is the immeasurable heavenly lord. Qin Ong laughed coldly in his heart and said, "The Jade Emperor's plan is naturally ingenious. The Jade Emperor naturally knew the principle of nurturing a tiger only to bring calamity. But even though he had the ability to subdue a tiger, it was difficult to predict the miraculous thing of nurturing a tiger into a tyrant king. However, Chen Ong could vaguely see that the relationship between the Jade Emperor and the Old Lord was very unfathomable. Before the Jade Emperor was born, the heavenly secrets were chaotic. Chen Ong could only predict that when the Jade Emperor was born, it was the Old Lord who brought him back to life. If it was really as Chen Ong thought, the Jade Emperor was the predecessor of the Tai Ching Xiang Emperor, and was the Jade Emperor, living in the Jade Pure Golden Palace. That didn't matter. Chen Ong couldn't do it himself, so why not send the monkey to fight for it? Anyway, the monkey had said that the Emperor would take turns to be the next Emperor. What was the big deal if the 3 realms had one more great Emperor, heaven's equal? Chapter 854. On Mount Tai of East Mountain, Lord of East Mountain looked west, his expression cold. A golden-eyed ghost hurried over to report, "Emperor, the other 4 emperors have arrived." Lord of Mount Tai's expression was as dark as water. Upon hearing the report, he personally got up and went out to welcome them. Just as he saw the 4 emperors of Mount Hua, Mount Song, Mount Heng, and Mount Heng, West Mountain Emperor said angrily, "That elder lord didn't give us any face. Big Brother, let's summon the army and capture that demon monkey. We'll interrogate Elder Lord and demand an explanation from him. Emperor Zhongyue, Mount Song-honored Saint Great Emperor, objected. That's not right, brother. That demon monkey is only the disciple of a foreign itinerant immortal. Even if he leads the ox before Elder Lord, he might not really have anything to do with Elder Lord. I know that the foreign itinerant immortal is the boundless cult master from beyond the heavens. He came to our realm and disrespected us gods. Instead, he allowed his disciple to do evil. Let's just interrogate him. Elder Lord resides in the Tushita Palace and is highly respected. How can we humiliate him? Why don't we ignore Elder Lord for now and just interrogate the master and disciple? West Mountain Emperor immediately retorted, Second Brother, why boost the morale of others and belittle our own? So what if Elder Lord comes personally? Do you think my brother is afraid of him? The two couldn't agree, so they started arguing. The other emperors only looked at Lord of Mount Tai's expression. With Great Emperor of East Mountain as the leader, the two invited Great Emperor of East Mountain to be the judge. Great Emperor of East Mountain stood up and said, Elder Lord cannot be easily offended. But if we don't take down that demon monkey, how will we, the Master of the Mountains and the gods of the earth, put our face? Pass down my order. Raise my imperial court and summon the mountain gods and earth gods of the 4 seas and 8 wilderness, the dragon gods of the 4 seas and 9 rivers, and all the gods of the mountains and rivers of the world to come and worship me. Open the Songli Ghost Kingdom and summon the 5 ghost emperors, the Een sons of heaven, the 10 tycoons, and the other gods of the underworld to come and see me immediately. Raise the 36 bureaus of prison and the 72 courts. Summon 5,900 gods and 18 million ghost soldiers. I will personally lead them to quell the rebellion. The emissary left after receiving the order. Soon, King Renhui, Empress Shuming of East Mountain, Protector King of Western Qi, Blue Cloud Progenitor, Grotto Heaven Immortal Official Peng Xiankong, Deputy Immortal Official Changbai Mountain, Deputy Immortal Official Liang Fushan, Saint Heirs Marquis Yuling, Deputy Immortal Official Jingjian, Marquis Xianling, 4 Mountains 4 Heavens Saint Emperors, Left and Right Prime Ministers Zhang and Kong, Xianying Thousand Sage Little King, Lord Chui of the Underworld, and other officials of East Mountain came to the imperial court to worship the great emperor of East Mountain. Not long after, Master Xingfu of Songli, King Jiahui Lingxian, Protector King Xianying, Righteous and Brave King Wuan, True Lord Chongning, Protector Duke Jiaying, Marquis Ling He, 6 ministers, Minister of Good, Minister of Evil, Minister of 6 ministers, 2nd Generals of the Palace, Left and Right Golden Guards, 3 Marquises of Wuka, Left and Right Gate Deities, White Mule King, Lord Lingwen, 9 Marshals of Earth Court, 9 Marshals of Earth Court, Grand Commandant Zhu Marquis Xiezhen, Marshal Liu, 15 Judges, 24 Cases, Immortal Official 36 Grotto Heaven, Immortal Official 72 Blessings Earth Spirit Official, Immortal Official Jinglu of Blessed Land, Saints of Daiyu, Immortal Official Taisui, Governor Gao of Marquis Lingji, Lord of the City God of the World, Commanding Deities of the 9 States Society, and the 4 direct officials of the year, month, day, and hour arrived. In this world, the City God, the Earth God, the Mountain God, and the River God would definitely come. A total of 19,500 gods, 2,200 immortals, and countless ghost emissaries and Een soldiers. This caused the City God of the mortal world to be completely empty. Half of the Een deities under Yen Jun's command had arrived. They were the commanders of the City God, the Earth God, the mountains and rivers of the mortal world. They were the rulers of the netherworld, the rulers of the netherworld. They were the rulers of the netherworld, the rulers of the netherworld, the rulers of good and evil, and the rulers of life and death. With such overwhelming power, it was no wonder that the Jade Emperor felt uneasy. The great Emperor of the East Mountain sat down in the imperial court, and the 4 prefects sat beside him. He immediately ordered the great Emperor of Fengdu, hand over the Book of Life and Death. It was obvious that he didn't place the 10 halls of Yanluo in his eyes. The Lord of Chui Palace, who was under Yanluo's throne, handed over the Book of Life and Death. The great Emperor of Fengdu opened the Book of Life and Death for the Lord of the East Mountain and handed it over. The Lord of Chui Palace said, reporting to the great Emperor, "The name of the demonic monkey is clear. The old Lord bestowed the surname Sun, and the boundless heavenly Lord named him Monkey King. His soul is 1350, and he is a heavenly stone monkey. He shall enjoy a lifespan of 342 years and die a good death." The great Emperor of the East Mountain said benevolently, "Deduct the remainder of his lifespan. Send the ghost emissaries to capture him." The great Emperor of the East Mountain sent the Book of Life and Death back to the Lord of Chui Palace. The Lord of Chui Palace then deducted the lifespan of the Monkey King. Immediately, 2 ghost emissaries stepped out and went to capture the Monkey King. The 4 prefects of the East Mountain didn't understand. Lord Huashan quietly asked, "Big brother, that demonic monkey destroyed our 100,000 mountains, killed the Earth God, and injured Shi Gondang and the other divine generals. We can just gather our troops and send a punitive expedition against him. Why do you have to do this?" The great Emperor of the East Mountain opened his eyes and laughed coldly. "Capture him? What crime did he commit?" Lord Huashan was tongue-tied. He said in confusion, "Killing the mountain gods and destroying the spirited mountains is a heinous crime. He cannot be punished." The God of Thunder was under the orders of the Jade Emperor. He came down to investigate and asked us to cooperate. Whether it is a crime or not, it is up to the Jade Emperor to decide. Is it up to me to decide? The Jade Emperor has the right to decide. 80,000 spirited mountains were destroyed at the base of the spirited mountains? The 100,000 mountain gods were destroyed when they were carrying out their duties? That human necromancer was instructed by the God of Thunder to move the mountains to stop him. The God of Thunder was under the orders of the Jade Emperor. But was that necromancer under the orders of the Jade Emperor? Or was he acting on his own? Wasn't it up to the Jade Emperor to decide? The great Emperor of the East Mountain said plainly, "We are going to send a punitive expedition against him. Should we ask the Jade Emperor? Should the Jade Emperor decide whether the monkey is guilty or not? This is not my job. The right to decide is in the hands of others. How unwise is it to use this as a reason to punish him? When the time comes, what can you do if the Jade Emperor decides that the demon monkey is innocent? Although I have not asked about the matters of the Netherworld for a long time, I am still the ruler of the Netherworld. I am the ruler of Fengdu and Howly Ghost countries. Even if the King of Hell came, he wouldn't dare to go against my will. Just like earlier, who can stop me if I want to reduce the demon monkey's lifespan? Who can go against me? My words are the will of the heavens. Even if I want the demon monkey to die for no reason, the Jade Emperor wouldn't dare to go against me. This is my innate job. If I want the Monkey King to die at midnight, who would dare to keep him alive until midnight? When he chases away the ghost messengers, I will personally lead the countless nether soldiers and the Earth God City God to quell the situation. The right to decide and the right to do so will be in my hands. Lord Huashan, you are still too young. Only then did the other 4 great sovereigns bow down. They knew that the Eastern Mountain Great Emperor was shrewd and ruthless. The Monkey King was an intelligent stone monkey. The quantum primordial spirit in his brain circulated, absorbing the secrets of heaven and earth. The moment the heavenly secrets of the Book of Life and Death were activated, he sensed the aura of death entangling his primordial spirit. There were signs of the 5 signs of decline, and he knew that his lifespan was coming to an end. If it was an ordinary immortal, their abilities would have been greatly damaged and their cultivation would have been broken. However, the Monkey King only circulated his primordial spirit and dispersed the 5 signs of decline. He smiled at the green ox. Elder brother, I had the 5 signs of decline earlier. I'm afraid that my lifespan has come to an end. Yen Jun has sent people to capture me. The green ox said in shock, Brother, why do you say this? You are a stone monkey, a spiritual creature born in the world. How can your lifespan be compared to ordinary beasts? How did your lifespan come to an end just like that? Moreover, you are proficient in the art of prolonging life and avoiding death. Wouldn't it be easy for you to hide your name in the book of life and death? After I learned the Tao, my primordial spirit knew that I have a lifespan of 342 years. It must have been a ghost god that took action and reduced my lifespan. The green ox stood up in shock and said, That's right. You swallowed the 80,000 spiritual mountains in one gulp and caused a great calamity. The celestial heavens must be enraged and will first take away your life on the book of life and death. There will be ghost messengers coming to capture you immediately. If you don't submit, there will be countless heavenly soldiers coming to subdue the demons. It's over. It's over. What should we do? Brother, quickly go to the 2 ancestors. Even if that ghost messenger dares to do anything to you, he won't dare to capture you in front of the 2 ancestors. Let's avoid this calamity first. Why are you afraid of him? The Monkey King smiled and said, My ancestor already has a plan. I'm just afraid that he doesn't have enough people coming and his officials aren't high enough. I want to see if those immortals can withstand a few strikes from me. The green ox persuaded, It's difficult for 2 fists to fight against 4 hands. The celestial heavens have many soldiers and generals. Even if your entire body is made of iron, how many nails can you hit? Listen to me, the ones who came just now are only the divine generals of the Thunder Division and the Do Division, as well as a bunch of miscellaneous gods. When the celestial heavens are enraged, there will be countless powerful experts like the 4 saints of the North Pole, the star god in the sky, and the North Dipper and the South Dipper. The most worrisome one is true Lord Erlang Xianxing at the mouth of the river. You can defeat one of them. If they swarm you and there are still people shooting arrows from behind, how can you deal with them? With millions of heavenly soldiers, even a piece of stubborn iron will be beaten flat by them. Listen to Big Brother, let's go! So what if there are millions of heavenly soldiers? The Monkey King smiled and said, Big Brother, look at my mystical ability. Wukong puffed up a mouthful of vital energy, and the immeasurable vital energy accumulated in the 80,000 mountains suddenly returned to its original state, recovering a trace of material attribute. Wukong was like a monkey that was molded from the 80,000 mountains, and each strand of hair on his body contained several tons of metal vital energy. When he blew off the strands of hair, the metal vital energy in the strands of hair returned to their original state, and each of them was a clone made of alloy metal. The quantum primordial spirit in his brain evolved with computing power. In the hair clones, the alloy evolved into robots. First, he used vitality to build a small light quantum computer and reached a state of quantum entanglement with the light quantum Jade Emperor primordial spirit at the bottom of matter to share computing power. Therefore, in a breath's time, the countless strands of hair changed shape and turned into the original appearance of the Monkey King, just like a clone. This was a mystical ability that the Monkey King was born with after he cultivated his brain into a quantum computer as a silicon-based creature. As long as there was vitality, there would be millions of changes. The size of the quantum primordial spirit would be the same as the distance of the clones, and the computing power would be the same as the number of clones. After the Monkey King swallowed the 80,000 mountains, the vitality in his body could create billions of clones. If he was willing to take some risks, with the disaster of personality assimilation, he could create millions of clones. Therefore, the Monkey King was really not afraid of many people. Chapter 855. On the other side, the 2 ghost messengers sent by the great Emperor of Dong Yu held a piece of paper with the name of the Monkey King written on it. When they arrived at the place where the Monkey King had devoured the 80,000 mountains, they saw a macaque dressed in human clothes, dozing off under the pine tree. The indigo golden eyes ghost messenger was overjoyed when he saw this and said, "Good monkey demon, the great emperor sent us here thinking that there would be a fierce battle. Who knew that this demon monkey couldn't withstand the aura of the 5 deities and is in a daze? We can take this opportunity to capture him and make a contribution." The two of them didn't say a word and walked over, tying the rope around the Monkey King's body. Unexpectedly, when the soul-reaping chains scoured the inside of the Monkey King's body, it was empty. On the pine tree, the Monkey King and the Green Bull watched in amusement, covering their mouths and laughing. The indigo golden eyes ghost messenger went forward to test the Monkey King's breath and felt that it was faintly discernible, intermittent, and hurriedly said, "Not good. The demon monkey has fallen into a deep sleep. Its soul has gone somewhere. What should we do?" The other soul hunter emissary suddenly had a flash of inspiration and replied, "If we go back just like this, the great emperor will definitely blame us for our incompetence. Who cares where his soul has gone? He has to return to his body. Otherwise, there will be another wandering ghost in the 3 realms. Let's take its body back first and wait for it to come to us." Move this body back? The indigo golden eyes ghost messenger tried and felt that it was as heavy as refined iron. He said with difficulty, "How can we move this? We don't have this kind of service?" The other ghost messenger just smiled and said, "Warlocks in the human world often have to ask the 5 ghosts for help to move heavy objects. Although we are short and weak, there are many strong ghost kings among the ghost race. Send out a talisman and call them over." Therefore, the ghost messengers invited 5 Herculean ghost kings from the north, south, east, west, and central to help move the Monkey King's body. The Herculean ghost king of the east gave it a try and could only move a corner of it. He lamented, "This stone monkey's original form probably weighs 108,000 jin. I wonder how difficult it will be for us brothers to move it back to Mount Tai." The ghost envoy who had summoned him said, "This mission was personally ordered by His Excellency Lord Dongyu. When I return, I will definitely report this merit to His Excellency Lord Dongyu. You will definitely be rewarded. Fast. Move it quickly." The Monkey King, who was on the tree, said, "So it's the East Mountain Monarch who is here to make things difficult for me. After fighting the Thunder God, he will fight the Ghost Messenger, and after fighting the Ghost Messenger, he will fight the East Mountain Monarch. When will this end? No wonder Master said that we can't go against the Heavenly Court. If we offend one of them, we will provoke a whole lot of them. Sooner or later, we will offend the Jade Emperor. Why don't we just kill our way to the Cloudy Palace of the Golden Arches and beat him into submission? That way, the Jade Emperor won't keep sending people after us." Green Ox was startled and quickly advised, "Don't, little brother. Do you know how many powerful cultivators there are in the 3 realms? The East Mountain Monarch is even more powerful than my master and is a famous almighty cultivator. One of them is enough to give you a headache. How would you dare to provoke the Jade Emperor? Although the Jade Emperor likes to appease people, when he gets angry, the entire 3 realms will tremble. Little brother, you mustn't have such thoughts. Also, I heard from the heavens that the East Mountain Monarch and the Jade Emperor don't get along. If he comes to capture you, with the 2 masters behind him, he might be able to use the Jade Emperor's power to settle this matter and cover it up. When that happens, little brother, you will be free and unfettered. Why would you force yourself into a dead end?" The Monkey King said, "When the stellar divine treasure iron was in my hands, I knew that Master wanted me to make a big scene. I've also thought about the Heavenly Court's Heavenly General's abilities. That's all. But since Big Brother said that the East Mountain Monarch and the Jade Emperor don't get along, I won't provoke him too much. I'll just defeat the East Mountain Monarch and give the throne to my master." The 5 directions Herculean Ghost Kings carried Wukong's body made of refined iron, and with great difficulty, they finally arrived at the imperial court of Mount Tai Prefecture. Two nobles reported, according to the great emperor's imperial edict, us two brothers went to the 100,000 spiritual mountains outside of Mount Zhongnan to look for that demon monkey. However, the book of life and death of that demon monkey had lost his lifespan, and the chi of 5 signs of death descended from the heavens, and by the time we arrived, he had already fainted. I had no choice but to bring its body here to report. Infernal Judge Lu stepped forward and saw a small macaque sleeping soundly. He moved closer to Wukong's face and saw that the macaque's eyelids suddenly twitched twice, stretched his waist and half sat up. Judge Lu jumped in fright and scolded the ghost messenger. "Didn't you say his soul was lost? How did he wake up?" The ghost messenger shivered and said, "As the saying goes, the heaven and earth souls are always outside, only the fate soul resides in the body. I think his 3 souls and 6 spirits are mostly gone, but his fate soul is still there. Moreover, it's very sturdy, and can't be taken away. That's why he can wake up." Wukong, who had just woken up, murmured, "I've cultivated the Vajra indestructible body. My soul is stable, and my 3 souls and 6 spirits have all been absorbed into my physical body. I'm like Vajra, stable and indestructible. I can't be pulled out or shaken. How dare you kidnap me? Do you want to die?" That Judge Lu finally understood, went to the court and sneered, "Son Wukong, do you know your crime?" The Monkey King laughed, "I'm born from the heaven and earth. I'm the disciple of the Beyond Heaven Sex Master. I'm a foreigner, outside of the 3 realms, outside of the 5 elements. The laws of heaven and hell can't control me. Who can accuse me of my crime? Even the Jade Emperor has no jurisdiction over me. If you want to accuse me of my crime, send an official letter to my master, and he will answer you." "You reckless demon monkey! Who is your master? Within the 3 realms, the matters of life and death are all under the control of the Dong Yu Great Emperor. The Book of Life and Death has its name. If the Great Emperor wants you dead at midnight, who would dare to keep you alive? Left and right generals, take him down and hand him over to the Dong Yu Great Emperor." The left and right generals took the order and went forward with their divine weapons. The Monkey King was enraged. "You stupid god, how dare you insult my master?" The 2 generals were the subordinates of the Lord of Mount Tai. They let out a roar and turned their vital chi into a huge hand, grabbing at the Monkey King. Even though the Monkey King's clone's strength was great, it couldn't be compared to the Monkey King's real body. It had the weight of 80,000 mountains. When it collided with the 2 generals' hands, it only shattered the huge hand made of vital chi. When the rod hit the 2 generals' bodies, they were blasted tens of feet away, smashing through the gates of hell and smashing into the ground. Their tendons and bones were broken, and they couldn't breathe anymore. Judge Lu roared and attacked. Unexpectedly, the Monkey King let out a roar and the vital chi in his body turned into yin and yang. Under the circulation of yin and yang, countless lightning bolts gathered. When he attacked, there were thousands of lightning bolts and thousands of lightning bolts. The moment he attacked, Judge Lu's tendons and bones went numb. He couldn't withstand the rod and was smashed into meat paste. The Monkey King casually killed the 2 ghost messengers and killed his way out of the court. Angry shouts came from the front. It was the Dong Yu Great Emperor who noticed the Monkey King's actions and sent the ferocious gods and Yin gods to capture him. Chapter 856. The Great Emperor of Dong Yu was the first person in the Hairy Ghost Kingdom to know about the changes in the Court of Judgment, followed by Blue Cloud Progenitor. Blue Cloud Progenitor was not an ordinary person. She was originally a female attendant of the Great Emperor of Dong Yu when he was ruling the Netherworld. Later on, she was favored by the Great Emperor. After cultivating for generations, she finally achieved enlightenment and was honored as the goddess of Mount Tai. Now, she was also a famous goddess of the Celestial Court. In the Hairy Ghost Kingdom, when the Monkey King knocked down Judge Lu, she was the second one to notice. She knew how extraordinary this goddess was before the great emperor of Fengdu and the other 4 mountains sovereigns. Among the goddesses of the heavenly court, only Blue Cloud Progenitor and Lady Mazu were the noblest. In the mortal world, there were South Mazu and North Mazu. Blue Cloud Progenitor frowned slightly and said, "That Judge Lu is so ignorant. His Majesty has been so vigilant, so he knows that the Monkey King is no ordinary demon, but a great sage among the demons. How could he be so negligent? He didn't bring the Monkey King to His Majesty immediately. Instead, he coveted this little merit, which resulted in his Dharmakaya being destroyed and the Monkey King escaping." The great Emperor of the East Peak was also displeased. "Progenitor." Blue Cloud Progenitor stepped forward and said, "Father, I'm here. I order you to bring along the Earth Lord Marshal 1 and the 9 marshals of the Earth Yard, as well as the soul-chasing Grand Commandant Zhu, Marquis Xiezhenlu, 15 judges, 24 case masters, 36 Paradise Immortal officials, 72 Blessings Earth Spirit officials, and all other deities and generals to bring that demon monkey here." Yes. Blue Cloud Progenitor obeyed the order. How could she not know that the Monkey King could defeat the Divine General of the Thunder Department and shatter the Dharmakaya of Shi Gondang and the others? These divine soldiers and divine generals were nothing more than a show of strength. They could only be regarded as high-level guards of honor. If she really wanted to take down the Monkey King, she had to do it herself. Blue Cloud Progenitor received the order and left. As soon as she stepped out of the tent, she saw the Monkey King swinging his cudgel in the distance and sending the Minister of Evil flying. "Kill that demon monkey! Minister, Minister! My lord, the Evil Department Minister's Yuan Shin is about to collapse. Demon monkey! This is the territory of the Lord of Mount Tai, the Hairy Ghost Kingdom. How dare you be so rampant? All Een soldiers and generals, get into formation!" A huge golden hand tore apart the ghost cloud formed by the millions of ghost soldiers and punched the formation core of the ghost soldiers. The millions of ghost soldiers gathered their Een chi and turned into a giant beast that roared at the sky to resist the attack. The beast stood proudly in midair. Its body was pitch black, and it had the shape of a bull. There were 4 curved horns on its head, and they were pointing at the Monkey King's throat. Its body was hidden in the ghostly aura, and its pair of red eyes pierced through the dark clouds. It was one of the 4 ancient ferocious beasts. Bayan Wukong continuously hammered the top of Bayan's head a few times. He felt that although the ferocious beast under his hand was condensed from ghost energy, it was as hard as diamond. Eating its iron fists only caused its body to slacken slightly. After the million ghost soldiers' formation rotated, it recovered. Goku held Bayan's horn with one hand and pressed it down. He was only 3 feet tall like a monkey, and when he pressed one hand on Bayan's mountain-like body, it was like a speck of dust. However, it was like a tiny golden dot hanging on Bayan's body, making Bayan roar again and again, but its head was pressed down. Under the leadership of a few earthly god marshals, the million-strong ghost army roared in unison and activated their vitality without any regard for their lives. Bayan, having obtained the strength of this foundation, raised its head and moved back a little. At this point, Wukong was finally moved. "The monkey can't hold on any longer. Let's do it!" One of the ghost generals exclaimed in joy when he saw the Monkey King's hand on Bayan's horn moving up bit by bit. "Let me help you!" Led by Blue Cloud Progenitor, the 9 marshals of the earthly court and the head of the East Mountain Ghost Marshal, Marshal Yi Lingzhao, Marshal Wuan, who was also the last of the 4 marshals of the Celestial Court, Marshal Guan, Zhao, Ma and Wen, let out a loud cry and leaped into the formation. He commanded the ghost army and took over the formation. His magical powers were on full display as he presided over the formation. He commanded the million-strong ghost army's vital chi as if it was his own arm, which made the Bayan transformed from the formation even more agile. Wukong was only a hair on the body of Goku, so he could no longer suppress it. A 3-foot-tall macaque roared angrily, and the inconspicuous fist that was grabbing onto the left horn of the swan Ni became as big as a small mountain in the blink of an eye. The golden-furred ape Dharma form became as big as the swan Ni, towering like the jade emperor peak of Mount Tai, blocking the swan Ni's horn. The Monkey King twisted Baian's right horn with his other hand. The quantum primordial spirit in the brain of the deity far away at the foot of Mount Zhongnan changed and transformed into a cloud. This cloud was called the Quantum Divine Light Indefinite Cloud of Two Worlds. It was based on the essence of the Buddhist heart light escape technique and the great way of quantum mechanics taught by Qianong. The quantum primordial spirit was in a microscopic state, neither on the other shore, nor in the middle, hence the name Cloud of Two Worlds. In the quantum primordial spirit, the macroscopic and microscopic physics that the Monkey King had recently learned, the general theory of relativity and quantum mechanics, began to collide and unify. The Monkey King seemed to see Qianong sitting in front of him and saying, "Monkey King, in the general theory of relativity, you have finally observed that time and space are one and gravity originates from the curvature of space. This is a macroscopic unified and stable system. But in the microscopic world, quantum mechanics tells us that the origin of all matter and the nature of mass is impermanent, probabilistic, and changeable. But whether it is the eternally unchanging of time and space or the probabilistic changes of quantum, they are all unified in this objective world. The constant and the impermanent, the existence and the non-existence, are one and the emptiness. This means that when you want to further understand this world, you have to discover the quantum time and space, the changing time and space, the impermanent time and space, surpassing our perception of time and space. Of course, this doesn't mean that our perception is wrong. It's just that the perception is similar, and the reality is richer than the perception. To discover the unification of the general theory of relativity and quantum mechanics, to approach the reality. To discover the changes of time and space, to comprehend the two essences of matter, to unify the two elements that exist in this world, the dimension of space and the essence of matter. To discover the strings. The strings of strings, the door of all wonders. Master, Wukongbai said, that's just my hair clone. Its mass is too small, so there's no way I can control gravity and bend spacetime. A mere hair clone can't defeat those immortals. I'm just testing their limits this time. When my real body goes there, I'll kill them all. Then you have to ask yourself, why can mass bend space and produce gravity? What is the essence of matter? Qianong sighed and said, even if it is just a hair clone, you should kill them all. The Monkey King seemed to have understood something. He raised his head and realized that there was no one in front of him. There was no Qianong. On the Zhongnan Mountains, Qianong placed another chess piece, and the whole situation changed. Monkey King retrieved the memory from the quantum primordial spirit, and the blueprint appeared in front of him again. He stroked the somersault cloud with the curvature engine under his feet and looked at the infinitely complicated formulas, Riemann geometry, Lobachevsky geometry, and all kinds of mathematical tools appeared in his mind. The Monkey King suddenly realized and said, Master, so you have told me everything. Why can mass bend space and time? Because the essence of matter is a string of one-dimensional space that keeps jumping. Matter and space and time have always been one. There have never been particles, energy, and thoughts in this world. All the appearance of matter is actually the movement and change of a low-dimensional space to a high-dimensional space. With a thought, the countless mathematical formulas in the quantum primordial spirit started to run, and the process of the string of one-dimensional space developing to a high-dimensional space was described with mathematical tools. At this moment, there was no difference between gravity, electromagnetic force, and nuclear force. The essence of all forces was just a string of space and time was just a string of space. At the moment of enlightenment, The quantum light above the Monkey King's head suddenly collapsed and turned into a bright pearl. Suddenly, it became bright and bright again, illuminating the three realms, and then disappeared. At this moment, the quantum primordial spirit encompassed this realm, and there was no distance between time and space. At this moment, the Monkey King realized that he was not on this shore, not on the other shore, and not in the middle of the quantum state. Such a change could not be described in time. From the Green Bull's point of view, it was just a wisp of Monkey King's primordial spirit leaving his body and turning into auspicious clouds. Suddenly, a bright pearl appeared in the auspicious clouds, and then disappeared. Finally, the pearl disappeared. He could not understand what happened to the Monkey King at this moment. In the Hairy Ghost Kingdom, the hare doppelganger was holding the horns of Tao Wu. Suddenly, a light flashed in the doppelganger's eyes. Blue Cloud Progenitor, who had been quietly waiting at the side, suddenly gave a warning with her primordial spirit. She was shocked and hurriedly said, "All the divine lords, immortals, and ghost soldiers, listen up! Attack with all your strength! This Monkey King!" Before she could finish her words, Wukong pulled with his hands. The space between the two big hands distorted, and a boundless force suddenly attacked. The ghost soldiers and godly generals condensed from millions of Yin Qi only felt an unparalleled, immeasurable force surging over. The millions of ghost soldiers and dozens of godly generals combined their strength, but in front of this abundant force, they were like a mantis trying to stop a chariot. With just a little force, the godly generals tore apart the Swanee formed by the formation. The sky full of immortals was in an uproar. The ghost soldiers' vital chi was torn apart, and one by one, they turned into ashes. The ghost commanders and generals fell to the ground one by one. Marshal Wen fell to the ground, his face pale, and even his indigo ghost face was pale. He spat out a mouthful of blood. The demon monkey's mana is amazing, and its supernatural power is terrifying. Progenitor, you're not its match alone. Hurry and ask the great emperor to come. No one can subdue it except the great emperor. As he spoke, he spat out another mouthful of golden blood. Marshal Wen's face was as thin as paper, and he was breathing weakly. He still said, "Hurry and ask the great emperor to come. Hurry! I'll stop it even if it costs me my life. This is the Haotian kingdom of the emperor. We can't let this demon run wild." Blue Cloud Progenitor refused to turn back. She stood in front of the holy court of Mount Tai, blocking the path of the Haotian kingdom of Mount Tai. Blue Cloud Progenitor said in a low voice, "The great emperor knows everything in the Haotian kingdom and has made his own decision. Why do I need to ask for help? Moreover, the great emperor has ordered me to vanquish the demon. How can I run away just because of the demon's ferocity? Divine emperors, immortals, and Marshal Wen are risking their lives to stop the demon. How can you, Progenitor, run away? All of you, please join me in stopping this demon from being so rampant. Protect my divine path and all living beings." Marshal Wen said sadly, "Progenitor." Blue Cloud Progenitor shook her head slightly. She raised her long sword and stood in front of the Monkey King, saying, "Divine generals and soldiers of the netherworld, slay the demon and protect all living beings. The righteousness of the universe shall exist forever." Within the Haotian kingdom, there were countless immortals, 15 judges, 24 case masters, 36 cave heavens immortal officials, 72 blessings earth spirit officials, and countless nether soldiers and immortals, big and small, those who had arrived early, those who were seriously injured, and those who were unharmed. They shouted in unison, "By the order of Blue Cloud Progenitor, slay the demon and the righteousness of the universe." Therefore, all kinds of magical treasures floated in the air, magical powers were unleashed at the same time, and the magical powers of the immortals that filled the sky became one. Immortal clouds covered the sky, clear light and colorful clouds soared up, and golden fog surged from the ground like a tent. It was really a colorful immortal, and the sky and earth were covered by the immortal generals. Monkey King held his staff and laughed. If numbers were useful, I would have fallen in the 100,000 mountains long ago. Demon Monkey, do you know your crime? Marshal One looked at Blue Cloud Progenitor and the crowd of immortals with a determined look on his face. Tears streamed down his face as he turned to the Monkey King. Shut up! Wukong brandished his rod and laughed, saying, You can't even make me say the word mercy with your millions of soldiers. Don't tell me you think you can do it just by using your tongue? Marshal One shouted angrily. The next moment, he was smashed into meat paste by an iron rod. Blue Cloud Progenitor cried out in sorrow, Marshal! Attention, immortals! Use your Dharma power to slay the demon and avenge the Marshal. Kill! The immortals all over the sky dropped their magic treasures and attacked the Monkey King. The god of fire rose into the sky, the god of thunder drove the wind and thunder, the god of mountain raised the mountain, the city god used the power of incense, and the earth turned the Monkey King's feet into quicksand. Countless divine scents carried the Dharma power of the immortals and swore to destroy the Monkey King's soul. There was a mountain god who participated in the battle of 100,000 mountains. His Dharma body was broken, but his vital spirit was lucky enough to escape. He looked at the murderous intent of the immortals in the sky and a macaque laugh. He couldn't help but lament, what sin did that thunder god commit? Countless colorful clouds covered the sky above Howley Mountain. Clear light and celestial music filled the sky. The colorful lights were so bright that people couldn't open their eyes. The king of Qi looked into the distance with the priests and said, There are celestial lights and colorful clouds rising from Mount Tai. It's really an auspicious sign for the country. Before he finished speaking, a black iron staff tore through the clouds, scattered the clear light, and extinguished the celestial music. It reached up to the 9 heavens and down to the netherworld. High up in the sky, the great heavenly Lord Jade Emperor was shocked. He looked down and saw the iron staff grazing the bottom of the heavenly court and smashing into Mount Tai. The entire 3 realms shook and all the immortals and Buddhas were in awe. When the smoke and clouds dissipated, there was only a divine general who was missing a limb and one eye standing on the Howley Ghost Kingdom. He looked at the ruins around him and the corpses of the immortals under his feet. He laughed 3 times and then cried 3 times. It sounded like the wailing of ghosts and gods. He shouted, They're dead! They're all dead! He took 2 steps forward like a madman and stumbled. He knelt on the mountain of corpses and cried with his head lowered. Chapter 857. Tai Bai Jinxing saw everything clearly from the clouds and sighed. Good divine art, good magic power, how ferocious! That monkey killed his way out of Hairy Ghost Kingdom and knocked down Hairy Mountain with a rod. He killed countless gods and Buddhas before heading straight for Mount Tai Divine Court. He turned to the god of thunder and said, You were able to escape with your primordial spirit, so that monkey must have gone easy on you. After that, Tai Bai Jinxing kept the imperial edict and put it back into his sleeve. He sighed and said, It seems like the Jade Emperor's imperial edict to bestow the monkey head as the primordial immortal Monkey King of the Mixed Elements Unity Chi is too embarrassing. I still have to report this to Great Heavenly Venerable and get him a higher position. If that monkey can embarrass East Mountain Imperial Lord, what's wrong with giving him an emperor title? The god of thunder was a yes man, but he was careful and asked, Why is the Jade Emperor so protective of that demon monkey? He won't accept the king's rule and will be a threat to the celestial heavens in the future. Tai Bai Jinxing said mysteriously, How can you guess Great Heavenly Venerable's will? He looked at the jealous god of thunder and smiled. Although you lost your body, it's your fortune to be able to escape with your life. You've seen how ferocious Monkey King is. If you run into him again, I'm afraid it won't be so easy for you to escape. The god of thunder subconsciously looked at Hairy Ghost Kingdom and shivered. He quickly shook his head. I don't dare. How would I dare to provoke that fiend? I wouldn't dare to spoil great Heavenly Venerable's plan even if you beat me to death. Tai Jinxing wanted to say more, but he felt something. He looked up and saw 4 majestic mountains descending from Mount Tai Divine Court. His expression changed. The 4 mountain imperial lords have made their move. I'll go and keep an eye on them in case East Mountain Imperial Lord really suppresses that Monkey King. Great Heavenly Venerable wants to give him an official position. We can't delay this. The gods in the divine court of Mount Tai were furious. The great king of Western Qi coughed up blood and fell from his throne. Just now, a heaven-reaching chaotic iron staff had smashed through the steps of the heavenly court, directly entering the heavenly court, and smashing the Dharmakaya of the 2 divine generals guarding the gate. It was he who had stood up in shock and blocked the staff that had smashed through the heavenly court. Although he had withstood the power of the staff, he had been struck by the boundless power of the chaotic iron staff. He had fallen to the ground, battered and exhausted. The Western Mountain Great Emperor raised his head in terror, and then divine light erupted from his eyes as he said, "Imperial brother." Blue Cloud Progenitor couldn't stop that monkey. Her divine body was shattered and her primordial spirit was reincarnated. The group of hairy ghost commanders and heavenly generals were also killed and had no choice but to enter the 6 paths of reincarnation. The group of immortals and heavenly generals didn't even have the chance to cultivate their dharma bodies. That demon monkey is so arrogant. Brother, are you still not going to act? The Eastern Mountain Great Emperor closed his eyes and said, Blue Cloud Progenitor has reincarnated. 500 years later, during the era of the Han Ming Emperor, she will come to the world in Fengfu County of Sunning Prefecture of Western Ok. I will guide her to cultivate the celestial path again, understand her past life, and escape the calamity. Now that Lord Tai Jinxing is lingering outside the heavenly court, I can't leave without permission. Let's wait for that monkey to come in. When that time comes, I will act to suppress him. He opened his eyes slightly and saw a 3-foot monkey on the steps of the heavenly court with his head held high and chest puffed out. He stepped into the heavenly court. The jade steps under his feet were already shattered, as if he was walking in ruins. The golden-armored divine generals on the left and right side of the hall roared and pounced at him, but they were swept away by his staff. Their golden armors were shattered, and more than half of them were dead or injured. Above the heavenly court, countless earthly gods stood up. 24 city gods of the human world attacked together. Divine light bloomed, whips, truncheons, spears, staffs, and axes took turns to attack. A bunch of useless chickens and dogs, how dare you stop me? The Monkey King laughed loudly. With just a grab, his hand was like a black hole. The space above the heavenly court suddenly shrank and entered his hand. In the space enveloped by his palm, the city gods only felt a huge hand covering the sky and earth. They raised their weapons to fight, but the huge hand just squeezed and all of them were crushed to death. I, old son, can crush them to death without a second move. The demon monkey's ferocious might intimidated everyone in the hall. All the ministers of East Peak turned pale as they stared at the macaque, who was only half as tall as the divine champions who were over 9 feet tall. The seemingly laughable little monkey had a shadow as large as a mountain behind him. Many divine champions and immortals couldn't help but feel a chill in their hearts. A peerless demon. True Lord Chong Ning couldn't help but say with a trembling voice, Fellow Taoists, this is a peerless demon. If we don't work together to stop it, do you really want it to walk to the Great Emperor? The Great Emperor of South Peak sighed. The last time someone as ferocious as this was that true Lord Erlang Xianxing. The Great Emperor of West Peak's expression turned ugly, and he interrupted. This demon monkey is only acting ferociously for a moment. When Big Brother makes his move, it will turn into ashes with a flick of his finger. How can it compare to the nephew of the Jade Emperor, true Lord Qingyuan Daomiao? You're going overboard. How so? The Great Emperor of South Peak sneered. Didn't Erlang Shen invite the 5 of us when he killed his way into your Mount Hua divine court? The earthly gods, heavenly soldiers, and heavenly generals of the 4 directions were not as strange as this. In the end, Erlang Shen borrowed the splitting mountain axe left behind by you the Great and split your divine body, greatly damaging the reputation of our earthly gods. Big Brother is a descendant of the heavenly gods, the Lord of the mountains, rivers, and the netherworld. If it wasn't for the Jade Emperor's scheme that prevented Big Brother from making a move, and the Buddha of the West to support that Yenluo king and seize Big Brother's authority in the netherworld, how could Erlang Shen be so ferocious? How can Erlang Shen be so ferocious? Now that the Jade Emperor is repeating the same scheme, how can this Monkey King not be the second Erlang Shen? Retreating again and again, where can you retreat to? Yesterday, I split your West Peak divine body. Today, are you going to split my Big Brother's Grandmaster Dai's East Peak divine body, cut the height of Mount Tai, and destroy the 5 mountains? The great Emperor of South Peak's anger reached its peak, and he stood up in shock, summoning the Southern Peak's Hang Mountain. The divine fire on the Zhurong Mountain was blazing, and boundless true fire gathered, burning through the peak of the Zhurong Mountain. The Zhurong Mountain was formed by the ancient heavenly god Zhurong's Dharma body, and it contained boundless true fire. The great Emperor of South Peak shouted, "Monkey King! You have offended the heavens, and you deserve to die. I shall suppress you for thousands of years, and you shall be refined under my Zhurong Mountain until your bones turn into ashes." The Monkey King smiled. "How heavy is your Zhurong Mountain? How dare you say it can suppress me? I, old son, ate 80,000 mountains in one go yesterday, and I'm still not full. Are you sending it here to warm my stomach?" The great Emperor of South Peak roared angrily, and he pressed the Zhurong Mountain down. The Zhurong divine fire on it could melt gold and iron, and it wasn't inferior to the 6 Ding divine fire in the old lord's 8 trigrams furnace. However, the Monkey King had cultivated the quantum spiritual light indefinite cloud of 2 realms, and he had long seen through the wonders of existence. He could shrink the sun, the moon, and play with the sun. He wasn't even afraid of the sun's true fire, let alone a mere Zhurong Mountain. He lifted up the divine mountain with one hand, and the huge peak landed between his 5 fingers. This was a change in gravity, and space was warped. Although it was as wide as 5 fingers, the space inside could even contain the sun and moon. Zhurong Peak landed within, and it looked no more than the size of an inkstone. Wukong weighed it in his hand. Too light, too light. It's not even heavy enough to smash someone. I say, you, the great Emperor of South Peak, your body is too weak. Such a huge mountain isn't even 3 feet tall and heavy. Even a little finger of mine is much heavier than your Zhurong Peak. The Monkey King didn't lie. If he cultivated the neutron star battle body, his density would be as heavy as a neutron star's core, and a cubic centimeter would weigh over 10 million tons. If it was Mount Hung, how could it compare? A mere Zhurong Mountain would only be a joke. Such arrogance in the hall caused the 5 great emperors to be furious. The great Emperor of West Peak brought the fallen Goose Peak of Taihua Mountain, the great Emperor of North Peak brought the heavenly peak ridge of Mount Hung, and the great Emperor of Middle Peak brought the sky-connecting peak. The Monkey King only retracted his hand, and the Zhurong Mountain shrunk to the size of a finger. He pinched it between his fingers, and these 4 steep peaks only took up the size of 4 fingers. The Monkey King shouted, one more. East Mountain Taishan, old man, why don't you press down the Jade Emperor Peak as well? It'll be just enough for old son's hand." "Demon Monkey, don't be so arrogant." The 4 Mountain Sovereign Emperor was enraged. Wukong spread open the 5 fingers of his right hand and pressed down on the 4 Mountain Sovereign Emperor. The Western Mountain Sovereign Emperor only felt his vision go black. He saw a huge hairy hand covering the sky and the sun, pressing down endlessly. His body felt extremely heavy. The Western Mountain Sovereign Emperor roared angrily, and his body expanded, vowing to break through this hand covering the sky. The great emperor of East Peak saw that the four great emperors were in trouble, and he had no choice but to take action. Just as Venus Sovereign was about to enter, he heard a call from behind, "Old Venus Sovereign, please wait." Venus Sovereign turned around and saw the ancestor of the Earth Spirit, old immortal Zhen Yuanzi. He was stunned. "Why did Taoist Zhen Yuanzi call me? I still have the Heavenly Venerate's decree, and I can't stay." Zhen Yuanzi caught up from behind and smiled. "Taoist East Peak invited me to the banquet, and I can't accept it, so I came to invite you to come with me." Lord Tai Bai Jinxing complained bitterly. "Why did you stop me? I can't make it in time to issue the decree and stop the great emperor of East Peak from killing the Monkey King." Chapter 858. Great Monarch of the East Mountain. Wukong exhaled a long breath. The quantum spiritual light indefinite cloud of two realms, which had escaped into the void, was not on this shore, not on the other shore, and not in the middle, rotated rapidly, faintly projecting 70% of his primordial spirit's computing power over. The aura of magic power on his body became increasingly ethereal and unpredictable. He took a deep breath of vitality, and the strong wind he exhaled surged from all directions, sucking up all the air around Mount Tai in one breath. The clouds in the sky and the ghostly chi of the netherworld all entered the mouth and nose of the Monkey King, only allowing him to see the wide heavenly river under the heavenly palace. The sun was still hanging high in the sky, but countless stars could be seen twinkling in the heavenly river. The East Mountain Sovereign was happy to see the endless Yuan Qi pouring into Wukong's incarnation. At their realm, the Yuan Qi of the mortal world was heterogeneous and thin. It was as filthy as feces and urine. Unless it was during the creation of heaven and earth, the natural pure and turbid Qi was not beneficial to the divine body. Carelessly sucking out Yuan Qi like this was like smelting iron ore of the lowest quality. It was impossible to refine an invulnerable divine body. But how could he have expected that Chen Ong had personally taught him the theory of one origin of space-time and matter, breaking through the origin of matter and turning matter back to its origin? Regardless of the so-called innate or acquired, the profound realm of matter and space-time, after Wukong cultivated the quantum spiritual light indefinite two-world probability cloud, he was already able to go deep into the bottom of matter to pluck the one-dimensional string. Wukong's primordial spirit went deep into the bottom essence of matter that made up this clone and gently plucked the string of space-time. A loud boom was heard. The sound of a great bell rang out incessantly. It was as if a gate had suddenly opened in the Monkey King's body. Vitality mixed together and collapsed into a string. Then, on a macroscopic level, the dimension was raised to quarks, neutrons, atoms, molecules. East Mountain. If you know what's good for you, then give up the seat under your ass. Respect my master as the 5 directions immortal elder, the great emperor of the heavenly court. He is a virtuous and powerful man. He can make decisions for the heavenly court with just a lift of his finger. He's not someone a good-for-nothing who has survived countless tribulations like you can compare to. Otherwise I, old son, will hack you with my stick. Great Monarch Dong Yu was so angry that he laughed out loud. What a demon monkey! I was wondering how a mere stone monkey like you could compare to an earthly god general like me, causing havoc in the hairy ghost country. So it turns out that you have someone backing you. That immeasurable heavenly lord is so impudent. He actually allowed a monkey to wreak havoc and raise a demon for himself. Even if he is the Beyond Heaven sect master and a saint who has descended into the world, I still have to report him and ask the Jade Emperor why he allowed him to wreak havoc. On Mount Zhongnan, when Wukong said those words, the chess piece in Chen Ang's hand that was about to be put down paused and almost fell. On the opposite side, Laozi looked at Chen Ong with a smile that was not a smile. Chen Ong looked ashamed and angry, he thought. That scoundrel's mouth doesn't have a gate, he dares to talk nonsense. When he comes back, I will definitely send him to the deepest part of the netherworld, so that he will understand the truth of the endless hell that is neither empty nor real. But his mouth said, I forgot to play chess with you, Grand Supreme Elder. Where did Wukong and Green Ox go? Let's not care about it. Lousy, let's finish this game first. Lousy stroked his beard and laughed. I'm just afraid that your disciple will be mischievous and run to the human world to wreak havoc. If the Heavenly Lord finds out, I won't be able to answer to him. Although the Monkey King is a monkey, he has been taught by Confucius and learned from the 3 religions. He knows what is good and what is bad. He understands morality and ethic. Why would he wreak havoc? There's no harm, there's no harm. Chenong smiled and waved his hand. I, old son, have transcended the 3 realms and am not within the 5 elements. I am following my master in cultivation. What can restrain me? Since you have a name in the book of life and death, you won't be able to escape from my laws. Demon monkey, if you obediently confess to your crimes, you might still have a chance to live. Otherwise, the laws of the heavenly court and the rules of the hairy ghost country will punish you. No one can save you from this. The great emperor of the East Mountain was enraged. The Monkey King raised his iron rod and asked, Then let me ask you, did the book of life and death say that you will die if you offend me today? The only thing it says is that you will die today. East Peak opened the book of life and death. Under the Monkey King's name, it was written that he would die violently today. The great emperor of the East Mountain would add a line on the spot, soul scattered, never to reincarnate. The Monkey King laughed. After I kill you, I'll write a name for you in the book of life and death. Just tell me how you want to die, I'll satisfy you today. What kind of death do you want? This emperor will be merciful and write one for you on the spot. East Peak mocked. Die. The Monkey King's body moved, accompanied by a torrential force. It was as though Mount Tai had moved into the eastern sea. The gravitational force in the surroundings was like a tidal wave. Many of the nearby divine generals were shattered by the force, and the entire mountain trembled continuously. It would have collapsed long ago if it wasn't for the suppression from the great emperor of the East Mountain's divine power. This swing of his rod contained the power of the sun, moon, and 100,000 stars. It struck toward East Peak like a supernova explosion, capable of destroying the world. The great emperor of the East Mountain furrowed his brows in anger as he took a step forward and slapped out. In that palm, when heaven and earth cycled back and forth, the innate Tai Su was enveloped with countless Tai Su substances. Tai Su substances were the most primitive state of matter, also known as Tai Su vital Qi. At the beginning, there was Tai Chu and then there was Tai Shi. Once the form was formed, it was named Tai Su. Tai Su was the beginning of matter. It had form and substance, but it had yet to take form. This primeval energy could melt all things in the world. The Elder Lord's yin-yang bottle and violet gold gourd could also turn people into pus and blood, but they were far inferior compared to primeval energy. This palm strike opened up the primordial chaos and nurtured the Taiji. All matter and energy would be eliminated and turned into primeval energy. It could fuse with the sun, the moon, and the stars. When the palm and rod collided, there was a loud boom. The ground rolled like a huge wave, and the primordial stratum on which Mount Tai stood was almost shattered. Dong Yu and Wukong's expressions changed. Not good. Wukong hurriedly deployed a gravitational pull, allowing the surrounding space to absorb the tremendous force of the battle like a sponge. Meanwhile, East Peak summoned the divine form of Mount Tai to suppress the surroundings. Only with the two of them working together did they manage to avert this great calamity. East Peak's eyes flickered. Why does it look like that monkey is even more anxious than me? If I cause an earthquake in Qilu and cause countless deaths, not only will my divinity be damaged, but I'll also lose the favor of the heavens. The Jade Emperor will surely use this matter to suppress me. This is too important. I thought the demonic monkey would be happy to see this happen, so I summoned the earthly gods and asked them to suppress it. That demonic monkey isn't afraid of group battles, so that's all they can do. But why does it look like this demonic monkey is even more afraid of earthquakes than me? East Peak pondered for a moment before probing. A demonic monkey like you actually fears calamity. It looks like you know about the heavenly punishment and fear the might of the heavens. Why don't you surrender now? Otherwise, you won't have a complete corpse under the might of the heavens. Not good. The Monkey King thought. He wants to use the people of Qilu and Mount Tai to threaten me. I mustn't fall into his trap. He leaned on his staff and said with a smile, "What calamity? What does that have to do with me? I've swallowed the 80,000 mountains and devoured all the living beings in them. My mouth is so slippery, but I still don't think it's enough. I'm planning to use all the immortals on Mount Tai as a feast after killing you and invite the demon kings of the 4 seas and 8 desolations. I'm going to give you a title to celebrate my killing of you." "What's your title again?" The Monkey King dug his ears. "I think it's Emperor Equal to Heaven." "Then I'll be Emperor Equal to Heaven. I'll ask that old Jade Emperor to bestow this title on me. When the time comes, I'll eat all the immortals on your mountain. Look at how restrained you are. Don't tell me you're also taking care of the common people?" The Monkey King bared his fangs and made a fierce expression. East Peak said indifferently, "They're like sheep shepherding the masses. Sacrificing themselves for me is their fortune." The two of them probed each other and said, "What a ruthless character." The East Peak was shocked. This demonic monkey is so arrogant. The Monkey King thought, this East Peak is so heartless. He doesn't even care about his own people. How ruthless. The Monkey King's eyes shifted about. "I need to transfer him away from this place lest he slaughter the living beings here. That would be a great sin for me. I can't go to Master's place either." He said with a smile, "Since that's the case, the common people on Mount Tai are still useful to us. Why don't we go to a more spacious place to fight?" The East Peak nodded. "That's what I was thinking. The Heavenly Court's Milky Way contains the stars and is boundless. Only the Canopy Marshal and the Heavenly Court's Navy are stationed there. If you're not afraid, why don't you come and fight with me? Canopy, that useless good-for-nothing, when did I ever think highly of him? Let's go." A cloud rose up beneath the Monkey King's feet. It was the quantum indefinite probability cloud of the 2 realms. With a single thought, his primordial spirit would calculate the spatial coordinates and be able to enter and exit at will. The 3 realms and 6 paths could be reached at will, regardless of distance or space. The Monkey King said, "My cloud is faster than you. I'll wait for you at the Milky Way first. Prefect Monarch, don't flee in fear. A mere lesser demon dares to make me fear?" The East Peak Monarch looked disdainful. The Monkey King only laughed. "That's for the best. East Peak, let's meet at the Milky Way." With that, he vanished, leaving only echoes in the air. Chapter 859. Heavenly Realm, Heavenly River Navy's Base. The Milky Way flowed down from the 9 heavens and passed through the 33 heavenly realms. It became slightly calmer here. The Milky Way was boundless and contained the stars. It was once the river that separated the stars and Han. After Emperor Ziwei went into seclusion, great heavenly venerable Jade Emperor ordered the 4 saints of the North Pole, Marshal Tian Peng, to lead the navy. The water of the heavenly river was not ordinary water. It wasn't true water, it was the weak water of the heavenly realm. If goose feathers didn't float on it, even birds wouldn't be able to fly. Only this extremely light and spiritual water could flow above the 9 heavens and move the stars. Monkey King was able to float above the Milky Way even though it was difficult for a celestial being to cross it. He came from the divine court of Mount Tai and arrived above the Milky Way in the blink of an eye. He looked around and realized that he was too early. The Lord of Mount Tai was nowhere to be seen. The Milky Way is so vast and the weak water doesn't even float on it. Master once told me that he used to transform into a primordial narcissus in another world. He was the overseas sect master and cultivated the Milky Way water art. There are 7 types of innate true water, and one of them is the weak water of the Milky Way. It's a pity I didn't learn it from Master. Monkey King rolled his eyes and thought, oh right, that old bull pulling the bronze carriage is a supreme treasure refined by my master when he was the overseas cult master. Its original form is the golden ship of fate, and its uses are boundless. That East Peak's magic power isn't weak, so I need to borrow it just in case. On this side, Wukong's hair clone moved. On the other side, Wukong pulled the green ox and said, Brother, do you still have the bronze chariot frame that my master gave you to pull the chariot? The bull was stunned. It's behind the cowshed. That treasure is extremely powerful, but it only has the power to destroy the world. What's the use of it? Wukong said, that East Peak's subordinates are indeed a bunch of good-for-nothings like I said. Only he can be considered an opponent. We fought once at the foot of Mount Tai and caused the world to shake. I was afraid there would be a great calamity that would bring disaster to all life, so I stopped and invited him to the Celestial River for a battle to avoid Master's blame. You know that I, old son, am not good with water, and I'm afraid that the Marshal of the Milky Way, Tian Peng, is in cahoots with the Lord of Mount Tai. If they summon the Celestial River Navy to suppress me, I will inevitably suffer a loss. Therefore, I need to trouble you to borrow Master's golden ship of fate. If they plot against me like this, I can use it to teach them a lesson. The green ox hesitated and said, That's something under the saint after all. I'm strong and was given the heavy responsibility of pulling the carriage by the 2 saints. How can I steal the saints' Dharma treasures? The Monkey King laughed. How can it be considered stealing when a disciple takes his master's treasure? With me, old son, around, what's there to be afraid of? Besides, I'm just borrowing it. When the battle of the Heavenly River is over, we'll return it secretly. On Mount Zhongnan, Laozi stroked his beard and smiled. Qin Eng's face darkened. The green ox was tempted by his words. He had not descended to the mortal world for a long time. Now that he was fooling around with the Monkey King, he was a little wild. He suddenly said in a low voice, Other than the golden ship of your honored master, my master also has a treasure which is now sealed in the furnace. After he left the Hangu Pass, he refined a ball of Woot's steel in the 8 trigrams furnace. My master used the 9 cycles golden pill to transform it into a huandan. I've secretly taken a look, it's a bracelet. I'm afraid it's going to be my nose ring. Laozi is extraordinary in refining pills and treasures. That must be a good treasure. It's just that it's still in the furnace and can't make it in time. The Monkey King said. The green ox said carelessly, Do you think I'm joking? That treasure has been refined for a long time. When the 2 sages enlightened the world, they went in and took a look. Now, it's sealed in the furnace for nourishment. When your Grandmaster opened the furnace to refine the golden cudgel, I secretly took a look. It's ready to be unsealed. This time, it was Qin Eng's turn to smile. It seemed like the game was just right, but Laozi only shook his head. Yi Shi, who was watching from the side, was confused. He didn't know what the 2 sages were trying to do. He looked down at the chessboard and saw the 2 dragons swaying their tails leisurely. There was not a hint of killing intent in them. The outcome of the game was far from clear. The green ox was bewitched by the Monkey King and changed back to its original form. It sneaked into the cowshed and carried the bronze carriage on its back. A big green ox with a horn stuck its head out of the cowshed and looked around. It didn't know that everyone was playing chess at the back of the mountain. It thought that no one was around for the time being. Its heart thumped wildly, and it quickly ran out of the cowshed and went straight down the mountain. The Monkey King, on the other hand, was much more daring. He turned into a mosquito and flew straight to the alchemy room where Laozi was refining pills. Once inside, the Monkey King's stubbornness was triggered. He rummaged around and found a gourd full of golden pill. He poured it into his mouth and chewed it like fried beans. After eating half of the gourd, he suddenly thought, that old ox and I are on the same side. How can I keep such a good thing to myself? He even left me half a gourd. So I stuffed the purple gold gourd into my waist. He rummaged around for a while and didn't find anything else. He then walked towards the 8 trigrams furnace in the middle of the alchemy room. The 6-ding celestial fire inside was so bright that one couldn't open their eyes and couldn't see clearly. The Monkey King then opened the lid of the furnace. He didn't expect to get into trouble because of this. The golden pill of the 8 trigrams furnace wasn't hot enough. It was stimulated by the chi of vitality outside the furnace lid, and it turned into light and flew towards the spiritual mountains and rivers. It looked for spiritual opportunities and used the spiritual chi of heaven and earth to nurture it. The other few magical weapons that Chen Ong left in the furnace and the Monkey King made with the star-stabilizing celestial metal also escaped. The Monkey King opened the lid of the furnace and saw dozens of golden lights and a few colorful lights rushing towards him. He subconsciously dodged, and the golden pill magical weapons escaped. When he came back to his senses, he realized that he had gotten into trouble. He was afraid that the 2 saints would be alarmed, so he hurriedly summoned a bright circle in the furnace. He carried it in his hands and escaped as fast as he could. At the back of the mountain, the old lord and Chen Ong saw dozens of golden lights and colorful lights flying from the building and escaped into the spiritual mountains and rivers. Chen Ong threw the chess piece and pretended to be angry. "Stupid monkey! When he comes back, I must strictly control him." The old lord sighed. This is the will of the heavens. On the other side of the celestial river, the Monkey King knew that the deity went to borrow his master's golden ship of fate, so he waited patiently. He waited for a long time, but the great emperor of Dong Yu still did not arrive. He became suspicious and thought, could it be that Dong Yu didn't keep his promise and is just using this opportunity to transfer me away? However, he did not know that the great emperor of Dong Yu had already concealed himself and secretly came to the Canopy residence. The Canopy Marshal was there enjoying himself. The Celestial River Navy was a lucrative job. The upper reaches of the Celestial River were the 9 heavenly stars and the 33 heavenly saint realms. Every year, countless extraterrestrial stars would fall into the Celestial River. The 33 heavenly immortal herbs would fall into the Celestial River and drift with the current. When they reached here, the Celestial River's flow was calm, and they were fished up by the Celestial Navy. There were countless rare metals and jade, heavenly materials, and earthly treasures. Chapter 860. Great Emperor Dong Yu went straight into Canopy Palace and heard the sounds of young women chattering. He turned left and right, only to see light songs, graceful dances, and colorful dresses. It was a land of enchanting women. The golden-armored divine general was sitting amidst the flowers, intoxicated by the beauty. Canopy Divine General had a square face and big ears. Although he was burly, he looked like an idiot who had lost his soul to lust. Demonis! Whip me! East Peak had never imagined he would see such an unsightly scene. The square-faced Canopy Marshal had tied himself up with a girl's gauze and was sprawled on the ground in front of a group of demonesses. One of the demonesses was stomping on his body, and the divine champion revealed an infatuated expression when her little feet came into contact with his face. "Demonis, don't even think about humiliating me." Canopy Divine General spoke righteously, but his face was full of perverted excitement. This made the East Peak Great Emperor regret coming here. "Come. You whipped me and tortured me. You're a deranged slut who's worse than pigs and dogs. I'm the Canopy Marshal of the Celestial Realm. I descended today to subdue demons, but I was captured by a demoness. How can I be humiliated by a lowly witch like you?" Canopy muttered. The female Fae's family stepped on Canopy's face and held the whip as if they were going to hit him. However, their faces were filled with fear as they stammered, "You lowly bastard. I, Empress Azure Snake, will pull out your tendons and flay your skin today," and, as he spoke, he lightly hit the canopy as if he was pinching ashes. "Use more strength." The canopy marshal cried out. Don't stop. Come. Torture me, yes, use more strength. You're the demoness of the lower realms with boundless magic power. With the metal breaker whip in your hand, you'll tear my flesh open with a single strike." The demoness summoned up her courage and hit him twice, causing him to cry out in pain. He collapsed at her feet and tried to sniff the non-existent odor. Although the canopy marshal had a high status, this was the first time the holy maiden had played such a perverted trick. She couldn't take it anymore and threw down her whip, yelling, "Marshal, someone's coming." She then covered her face and left. The holy maidens in the hall all dispersed, leaving behind the canopy marshal with a face full of reminiscence. Tian Peng took a deep breath of the lingering fragrance in the hall and shivered. Suddenly, he felt all the happiness leave his body. With a dull expression, he slowly turned around and saw the shocked great monarch of the East Mountain. Immediately, a trace of embarrassment appeared on his face and his face turned red. He struggled out of the ropes and climbed up from the ground. He coughed and said, "I was wondering who came to this remote place of mine. So it's great monarch of the East Mountain. Emperor, why do you have the time to come to my celestial river instead of judging the Yang?" The canopy marshal chuckled as if nothing had happened. The East Mountain sovereign emperor cursed in his heart. After some hesitation, he asked, "Where was the marshal earlier?" Canopy marshal blinked his eyes and said, "Seeing that the celestial river was fine, I summoned the female officials to reenact the story of how I went down to the lower realm to subdue the demons. I wanted to teach the female immortals and reenact the scene of me being captured by the great demon sage, being tortured and unyielding." Motherf unyielding. East Peak cursed in his heart, "You're the golden pig who pulled the chariot for Mother Dumu back in the day. Because you grew up with Emperor Polestar, you were summoned to the Big Dipper Palace because you had some affection for Mother Dumu's chariot. Later on, due to fate, you were promoted to the Four Saints of the North Pole and obtained the lucrative position of Marshal Tian Peng. Think about how heroic the true martial emperor was to be ranked with someone like you. The North Star Emperor must have been blind. Who would have thought a chariot-pulling beast like you wouldn't forget the feeling of being chased around after becoming a divine champion? You're actually playing this kind of game in the Canopy Palace. I'm ashamed to be on the same level as you." But no matter how he cursed in his mind, the East Peak Emperor didn't show it on the surface. Although the Canopy Marshal was perverted, lustful, and lazy, he had connections with the North Star Emperor. The Mother Dumu used 7 golden pigs to pull the chariot, and the Canopy Marshal was one of them. Later, the Mother Dumu gave birth to the North Star Emperor. Out of consideration for the Canopy Marshal's hard work, she gave him to the North Star Emperor. He made many contributions in the North Star Court, becoming one of the 4 Northern Sages and the Canopy Marshal. His relationship with the North Star Emperor wasn't ordinary. The East Peak Emperor could only wipe his sweat and chuckle. "Your Eminence is truly considerate." With that, he was afraid of bringing up this topic again. "Aren't you afraid to tell Your Eminence that I came here for a favor?" "Oh!" The Canopy Marshal was surprised. "Your Eminence is powerful in the court. Why would you need help from an independent person like me? There's a demon in the lower realm with extraordinary supernatural power. He attacked my mountain god court and caused havoc in the Hairy Ghost Kingdom. I couldn't take him down, so I invited him to fight at the Celestial River. Forget about his supernatural power, I'm not afraid of him. But I'm not as good as his escape technique. Even if I defeat him, I won't be able to take him down. That's why I'm here to ask for your help." Hearing this, the Canopy Marshal's expression changed. "What kind of demon is he? He has such great supernatural power that he dares to make things difficult for the Emperor?" The East Peak Emperor said. He's a disciple of the immeasurable heavenly venerable. He's a stone monkey formed from a celestial stone on Mount Flower Fruit. The immeasurable heavenly venerable. The canopy marshal's expression was serious. I've heard a bit about this person. He's said to be the master of the Beyond Heaven sect, but to be able to produce such a lawless demon, his magical power must be extraordinary. After all, he's the master of the Beyond Heaven sect, a saint that descended into this world. It's not good to offend him. The canopy marshal hesitated for a moment, but he saw a hint of impatience on East Peak's face. He thought, if he sees my ugly side and I don't agree, he will hate me and spread the news. The Grand Empyrean's heavenly law wants to teach me how to behave. It's better to feign civility. Pretend to agree and then let that demon monkey go in secret. I'll just injure myself to gain the upper hand. How can East Peak make things difficult for me if I put my life on the line? There's no way I won't offend the immeasurable heavenly venerable. I became the canopy marshal in the heavenly court because I can read faces and not offend either side. The Jade Emperor is powerful while His Majesty Ziwei is in seclusion. If His Majesty Ziwei needs the immeasurable heavenly venerable and I offend him, wouldn't that ruin His Majesty's plans? The East Peak Emperor can't be offended either. I still need him to help His Majesty resist the Jade Emperor. So I need to deal with this matter smoothly. He said, such a small matter. Emperor, just send me a document and I'll mobilize 50,000 navy to help. Only then did the East Peak Emperor smile. Very well, I'll write one for you. He took out the Jade Seal and wrote a decree requesting the Heavenly River Navy to cooperate with him in subduing the demons. He sent it to the canopy. After the canopy signed it, it was sent to the Jade Emperor for record. Then, he gathered the navy and went to help the East Mountain Emperor.